Just call me back when you have a chance. Hi. Hi. It's me. I miss your face. I was just calling to say hi. Call me back. Bye.
In one of the
whoops. All right, so we're coming. All right, everybody. So welcome back to What's the Obsession live stream and chat. It is Friday night, What's the Obsession live stream and chat. So we're really excited about that. And tonight we have special guests with us, Omar Serrato, the Tilted Lawyer YouTube channel. If you haven't yet, definitely go check him out. It's a great channel, and we are so happy you're here. So how are you doing today, Omar?
Good evening, folks. I'm doing well. It got me in the right mind frame with that intro. That intro was amazing.
Awesome. And, well, thanks.
It angered me all over again.
It angered you all over. I know. This case is enraging, isn't it? So I've been, I don't know. I think, I've watched, guys, Omar just did a series, the Nichol Kessinger, I go back and forth between calling it the hypothetical or theoretical trial. What are you calling it?
Well, I mean, it's like a borderline. It wasn't exactly a mock trial, but it was me just basically going through the exercise of prepping for the trial and then doing the cross-examination of Nichol that everybody's been clamoring for and just wanting the opportunity to ask those questions that the interrogators didn't have the balls to ask her because daddy was going to shut it down or whatever.
I know. What do you think about Kevin Kobach, the interrogator?
I think that, well, I feel like he was shoestrung during the interrogation because I feel like it went something like this. We got to get her in here to answer some questions. What's the best way to do that? Well, I'll come in if my dad's allowed to be there. All right, fine. Yeah, come on in. Because all they had to do was get her talking. Once they get her talking, I mean, the goal is to keep her talking as much as possible. And I still feel as many times as I've watched that interrogation that I don't think that he knew that she deleted so much evidence. And once he figured that out, because at first, remember, he was like, hey, isn't your cell phone just going to corroborate everything that you're saying? And then he starts talking about deleted text messages. And then that's where he just basically tries to do the chaos move, which I've done in depositions where I don't know I didn't know certain things about my client and it starts coming out. I don't know what the answers are going to be. And then I create a diversion. I feel like that's what he did.
That must be nerve-wracking.
Well, in the moment, yeah, because you're supposed to know everything in a deposition. You're supposed to know everything about your client. And when they start getting to areas, the gray areas, the fear and the anxiety, and this is his daughter. And so, and I don't know what his pool was with law enforcement. I don't know anything about that. But I just feel that, I mean, they interviewed her a few times. But they definitely did not push as hard as anybody would have liked. I didn't see her questioned about the cell phone pings. I didn't see her questioned about a lot of the key evidence that everybody wants to see her questioned about. They were very soft with her. But also, if you read some of the discovery, I feel like they kind of approached her with kid gloves and looked at her as more the byproduct of a monster. All right, here's this lady, she's the mistress or whatever.
A victim.
Yeah, basically a victim. Hey, the worst luck ever. Your boyfriend happens to be a family annihilator, and they did not really push back against her, and here we are. We're left with all of these questions because everything was just kind of shut down when it just started getting going.
Now, let me ask you about this. So, Chris Watts, made essentially 3 different confessions. I think 2 official confessions with law enforcement during the course of whatever tricks he was trying to play. So initially, the first confession, in my opinion, and I think, I don't think this is really so subjective. His confession was false. Well, I guess that is subjective. False, saying that Shanann killed the girls and then he killed Shanann, and it was certainly incomplete. So as far as we know, this is the only confession that he had made to work, and then eventually, somehow, we don't know how this happened, he apparently confessed to killing all 3 of them. And but even Rourke himself says that they don't really know what happened. And that is evidenced by the fact that until they went to interview Chris Watts in prison on February 19th, 2019, after he was already at Dodge Correctional Facility for a few months, up until that point, they thought that all 3 of them had died in the house. And that's when, during the course of that questioning, they learned. I can't imagine the shock they must have been in the moment as they were interviewing him. And I think Grant Coder did a good job pulling this off in the interview. I don't think they did a great interview overall, but they learned, Chris Watts disclosed to them that Bella and Celeste were in fact alive on that ride to Survey 319.
Yeah, and that's the interrogation that stuck out of my mind. I mean, I know he was all over the place initially, and then they do the FBI, and then you start to hear him describe how, in great detail, he executed his daughters. The one hand over. I got this mental image in my head about
I
how.
Know. I know.
But yeah, he was all over the place, and one of the things that I've mentioned is that Christopher Watts is like one of the least reliable witnesses in all of this, despite his confession, because you're right. First, it was, I was not having an affair. Oh, okay, I was sort of having an affair. Or I was definitely having an affair. Actually, we're going to end up getting a divorce. And hey, I avenged the kid's death and that's why I killed Shanann. Actually, she wasn't. It was all me. And then, actually, it was Nicole. And then I think that was after the interrogation. He's all over the place. Who's to believe what he has to say? But I've always, just casually following this case from 2018. Since 2018, I'd always believed that, I guess the FBI confession makes the most sense because he had nothing to lose at that point. But, starting to get into some of this other stuff about possibly, Nicole, your audience is calling her like the empanada or something.
Yeah. Well, because in one of the text messages that we can see between Chris Watts and Nichol Kessinger, he calls her my sexy empanada. So I changed that and I call her the skanky empanada. Just my take on it.
That's so corny. I mean,
my sexy empanada. I mean, dude had no game. Everyone knew that, but
Well, that's another story for another day.
That's right. Oh my gosh. Little Nancy in chat says, with all the information Chris gave in 2019, they should have investigated Nichol Kessinger. So let's just get to this right off the bat. Do you think that they should have or should now investigate her?
Well, here's what I think. There's no reason to end the investigation when they did. It makes no sense. Right. They had information about that cell phone ping. That ping by itself about her physically being at the scene of the murders at 6:16 a.m. Should have been reason to investigate her to the ends of the earth. Get to the bottom of that. What is that about? I mean, if you take away all of the other evidence but the ping, you really don't have much of a case of anything. Sure, she was the mistress that was innocent insofar as she didn't plan to commit a murder, or she wasn't on board with murdering the family. But then why the hell was she there? And when I did my mock cross-examination, I was hammering home on that point because that's like the big, heavy right-hand cross that is supposed to deliver the knockout blow. On the strength of that, they should have investigated that further, but they shut it down for various other reasons. I mean, there's not an official reason, but I suspect that a lot of it was, I think that they were afraid of pursuing it any further because they didn't have much in the form of physical evidence. I think that it would have been costly to pursue. And then I think the family had a great role in saying, no, this was all Christopher. Nichol had nothing to do with this. Leave it alone. And so I said, okay.
Now, this is so interesting. All the points that you're bringing up are so amazingly interesting. And I just think, because like, I don't know what's wrong, Omar. You haven't been obsessed with this case since 2018, like the rest of us here. No, I'm just kidding. But, and like, for example, the interview, or no, not just the interview with Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil interviewed the Rucheks, but then he did a 5-part podcast series on this case and spent 2 of those podcasts talking about Nichol Kessinger. And in the beginning of one of those podcasts, I have it up on my channel. It's the most viewed video on my channel. It has like 1.8 thousand views. He says that the family suspected that she was involved, and he is very clear about he himself suspects she was involved. And at some point, for some reason, and we don't know why, the Ruchek family apparently changed their position on that. And that's okay. I have so much compassion for that family and for the Watts family. And, one of the rules on this channel is we do not speak poorly of any of the grandparents. They are, I can't even imagine what they've been through. But, it seems that initially, and they themselves even said after the Dodge Correctional Facility interview in February of 2019, Sandy says, if I knew what really happened and what happened to Bella, that I just want to almost cry every time I talk about it. It's just so terrible to think about. And you have, like you said, this terrible visual in your head. If I had known that happened, I would have wanted the death penalty.
100%. Yes.
Yeah.
But there's my experience at the DA's office. So back when I was a law student, I was an intern at the DA's office. It was one of my first lawyer jobs. And one of my jobs was basically, I did a lot of stuff. I did a lot of motions to suppress, but one of the things that I did was converse with the victims. And whenever the DA would want to offer a plea, they'd be like, all right, well, let me check with the family first and see what they think about it, because it was going to color whether or not they're going to offer whatever deal they're going to offer. And so I would always go say, we're prepared to offer this, but what do you think about that? Do you want us to go further? Do you want to take, how far do you want to take this? Do you want to leave it alone? And what they said was very persuasive in how the DA would handle it. It wasn't 100% persuasive, but if the family says, look, I don't want to go through a full-on trial, because a trial of Nichol Kessinger or a trial of Christopher Watts was going to be probably a 3 to 6 week trial. And they're going to bring out all of the dirty laundry. And it was going to become a national case. And the pressure of doing it. So I've tried jury trials before. And just when it's a small town case is an immense amount of pressure. Not only for the parties involved, meaning the defendant, the attorneys, but the families are there most of the time, every day. And, they have this belief in good and evil and whether or not justice is being served. And the belief is very strong on the extremes of both sides. And so them wanting to avoid the trial, if they told the DA, said, you know what, Chris did this, we accept it, we don't want this to go any further, then that would have been very persuasive to DA Rourke or whoever made the final decision, if it was actually Rourke, to decide to not try or go after Nichol or pursue a death penalty.
Yeah. Okay. So, wow. I've taken all that in. It's so amazing to actually get some really good feedback from an actual attorney, because we were talking about in the members live stream last night where we came up with some questions for you. Like how many times we've been sitting here being like, I wish we had a real attorney in the house. As I shared with you, I'm a law school dropout.
So you made a good decision.
I don't know. My dad, I had to tell my dad that I dropped out. I told him my dad was an attorney too. He just passed away recently, but so I don't have his legal guidance, which was, terrible, but that's a whole nother story. But I was so scared to tell him I was dropping out. I got a full scholarship to law school and all. I made a year and a half into it, and I wasn't doing great. I'll be honest about that. It's freaking hard. And if you think about going to law school out there, it is no joke.
Yeah.
And I told everybody, and I waited for like 3 weeks after I told my dad, and he literally started crying. He's like, "I'm so glad you dropped out of law school, Kelly."
Yeah, it's rough out there.
Yeah. He's like, "I think you would have been miserable," but
Well, at the time, I was thinking about doing a JD or a PhD, and then I took the LSAT just to, you probably do really good at it, and I took it. And then I got a scholarship like yourself, and then it was really freaking hard. And I was like, I'm just going to go until I flunk out, and I didn't flunk out. And I was like, well, I'm going to take the bar one time, and if I don't pass it, I'm just going to go be law enforcement or something. That's what I was going to do. And I passed the friggin' bar, and then here I am, like over 10 years later, I'm still doing this. But yeah,
amazing.
it is a trying profession for sure. It takes a lot out of you. It really does.
Oh, I bet. Just hearing about these cases all the time. So I just want to play. Do you mind if I just play a couple minutes of a couple videos
Oh,
to
by all means.
some of this information you may very well know. Some of it I think, especially the stuff about the truck evidence, I think might come as a surprise to you, and I really want to know what you think about that. But the strength of first I want to talk about the strength of the ping evidence.
Yes.
So I was able to have that ping evidence analyzed after doing research by people who are highly experienced professionals in the field, and they were able to determine, do you know how close or like within what range of the Watts house they were able to determine that ping
No, like a couple 100 yards or something like that, right?
300 to 400 yards. Okay, so you do know about that. Yep. So those were on people that figured that one out. So that's pretty compelling. I mean, 300 to 400 yards. So all these theories, like maybe she was just driving down the highway and she just randomly on this one day happened to pick up this tower that she never, like, no, like, I mean, that just defies common sense and logic and, everything.
I think the defense would have had to try something. I think what they would have tried was something about historical pings. It doesn't happen a whole lot, but it's possible that she could have been there, like, say, for example, July 14th, and it re-registered, and it happens a such and such percentage of times. And I don't know for a fact if that was
I never knew that.
But they might have thrown in an expert to say, hey, let's just spend a whole day of trial talking about whether or not it's possible that there was a historical ping that just so happened to historically ping on the day and time and at the same time of the murders. It still would have been a hard sell, but they had to try something. You got to
enough to maybe confuse the jury and create reasonable doubt. Yeah,
that's all they got to do. Create reasonable doubt.
Wow, that's pretty crazy one. Somebody just had a question up here. Now, I'm gonna take a little detour because when we were talking last night, somebody said that they had thought that maybe they had heard this from your channel, and you had heard it from and it started to be like a game of telephone. I had never heard this before, to be honest, just when I thought I had heard everything, not only that's a fact about this case, because we are facts only on this channel, but also everything that's been said about this case that is outside of the realm of facts. But I hadn't heard this one. Sarcasm for fun. You are so amazingly generous, by the way. Thank you so much for gifting 20 memberships. So if you guys are in chat, please turn on your accept gifted memberships because people are generous and awesome, and I love you. Thank you so much. Let's see. See all the fun you're missing out of not doing live streams?
Oh, I know. I got to start doing them. I'm just
StreamYard sucks though.
Yeah.
Let's see. Who has the question about the Nichol? Okay, here we go. Melinda. All right, here it is. Let me make this bigger so I can see it.
Yeah, the pharmacy thing.
Yeah, there's confusion about how did it get out that NK called the pharmacy, I believe, or somebody of how much you have to take to cause a miscarriage. What do you know about that, and where'd you find it out?
So here's the thing about this case. One of the reservations I had about even covering the case is that it's been out for 6 years. And then your channel, honestly, when I researched, your channel was the first thing that pops. Like they literally got like whole YouTube channels devoted to this case.
I heard you say that. I was like, that's me. It has to be me.
And so I was afraid of the misinformation. So YouTubers are saying all kinds of stuff, and I don't know, but I've heard multiple YouTubers talk about how she was researching, or there's somehow some transcript or some recorded phone calls about her calling a pharmacist in North Carolina, inquiring about how much it would cost to take or cause a miscarriage, how much oxy it would take to cause a miscarriage. So scouring the discovery, there's no mention of oxy in there whatsoever.
None.
And so when I did my my mock trial, I was very careful because, like you said, facts only. the only admissible evidence I was going to consider was stuff that would be relevant and admissible in court. And the whole Oxy thing has been speculation and conjecture. How they
Absolutely.
would have even got into court, I'm not even sure how they would have got that in absent some kind of tangible evidence. And so I did a motion to eliminate, and I excluded it under 403 as possibly probative but unduly prejudicial because it's way too tangential to the elements that need to be proven. It's a murder case. It's not even related to murder itself. We're talking about miscarriages. It's not worth. It's going to confuse the jury, so we're not letting it in. So
That's
yeah,
right.
not in any. I haven't been able to corroborate that, but I've heard multiple YouTubers say that. I even heard Annie Elise, 10 to Life. I think she said it on her show.
I like Annie Elise, but to do it, she says a lot. She does a lot of content. She's wonderful. She's like a great person. She's a great presenter. But to fact check her, you're gonna definitely find some holes.
And I suspect she probably heard that from some other. There's lots of conjecture out there, and so I don't blame her for doing that. I've been confused to the max.
And you should present it as being conjecture though, rather than fact though, don't you?
Yeah. But that's why it was so important for me to go through the exercise of the mock trial, because it's like, okay, I got to separate wheat from chaff, and I need to figure out what is actually, if this was a real trial, what's getting in and what's not. And really all you really have when it boils down to it is you got the 5 phone calls the night after the murders, 111-minute phone call, which you had mentioned was not even on the discovery timeline, which you're right, but they had mentioned it in the interrogations, if you want to call them that.
One mention, yeah. One mention, and in Discovery, there's one mention of it in the summary of the interrogation.
You're right. It was in the summary.
Kobach asked her. So Nichol Kessinger underwent 5 interviews. The first one was with the FBI in the park with her doggy and her daddy, and that poor audio recording. And then with Kobach, she did those 2 in-person interviews for which there's video on, the one with the yellow table and her dad, and the other one with the square table on August 23rd. That's the last one. Then she did 2 phone interviews.
Yeah.
One was on the 17th, one was on the 21st. Interestingly enough, in both of the phone interviews, the second half of the phone interview is, I call redacted. I don't know if it really is, or if the audio just cut off, or if they're just trying to use trickery, but the audio just mysteriously cuts off. I was able to get my hands on the transcript of the entirety of the interview, which is really hard to get your hands on. And you can find, when you read those transcripts, and I read them out, I have them on my channel, the juicy stuff in both of the phone interviews happens after the audio cuts out. So that's really interesting. And actually that leads me to something else. I want to play this little audio clip here. Hopefully I didn't lose it. Maybe I did though. I can find it though. But wait, let's see. You know what? Let's talk about the evidence in the truck. Do you know about the evidence from the truck?
And what specifically?
You don't know about the evidence from the truck. I'll play you this because you'd be. I think you would. Do you know what evidence was taken from inside the truck? I just don't want to give it away because I want to ask you specific questions.
Or do you mean like the stuff that was pulled out of the back of his truck, like the tankers or his tools or whatever? And
nope, I'm talking trace lifts, swabs. From the back seat, from the driver's seat, from the steering wheel, from the console.
Oh yeah. I don't know what specifically you're about to ask me about. So
okay, here I'll play this.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm not trying to set you up or anything there, but I just don't want to give it away because I want to get your honest answer on a couple questions. Okay. All right. You bring this into the stream. And hey, if for some reason I just go away for a minute, stay right here, Omar. I'll be right back. It's like a StreamYard thing.
Well, I promise I'm not going anywhere.
It happens. It usually, strangely enough, it usually only happens during the Watts cases when I'm covering that, but that's a whole different story too.
Oh, all right. I know what you're referring to.
Yes.
Father, Ronnie Watts, comes into the interrogation or interview. Are saying about
every single day.
I know.
But part of what makes you a man is the guy that goes, really fucked up, but this is what I did, and I'm going to pay for what I did, and I'm going to tell you what I did, and I'm going to be honest about it.
Chris, we can keep talking to you once we find these girls, okay? So once we find these girls and your wife, right, no matter how we find them, no matter what condition they're in, we can keep talking to you and you can tell us, guys, it's not as bad as it looks. And you can say, let me tell you what happened. I was never comfortable with you, Graham, or with you, Tam. No, I wasn't comfortable yet. But now that everything's known, now that these girls are found and Shanann's found, however they're found, it's okay. We can keep talking to you. Okay?
Chris, did Shanann do something to them?
No, I don't know.
I'm serious.
I have no clue.
No, you would have known, because they didn't leave the house. Did Shanann do something to them, and then did you feel like you had to do something to Shanann?
They were at the house when I left. They were there.
They weren't there. They didn't leave. They vanished.
They were
The
there.
only way they could have left is in your truck.
There's no way, because, like, I didn't just throw them in my truck.
You know your truck is GPS,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Because you told your boss, like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm going to separation, I'm maybe staying
Yeah.
at a friend's house, whatever. You know that thing pings every 10 seconds?
Yep.
So we will know
You can't turn
exactly
it off.
I don't.
where you went.
And your company's giving that to us.
So there, you heard Colorado Bureau of Investigation's Tammy Lee say it herself. She knows that Shanann, Bella, and Celeste left in Chris Watt's work truck. The investigators know that there's really no other way they could have left unless they left through the back, which some people keep open as a possibility, and we really cannot rule it out since this case was not completely investigated. The question I have regarding the evidence that is presented in the discovery documents is if Tammy Lee and the investigators knew or felt they knew that the family left in Chris Watt's work truck, then why did they handle the evidence that was taken from Chris Watt's work truck in the way that they ultimately did? Let me explain. In the discovery, there's a detailed description of how each vehicle was handled, both Shanann's Lexus and Chris Watt's work truck, the Ford F-250. So we're particularly interested in this part under scene investigation and vehicles. It says on Tuesday, August 21st, 2018 at 1600 hours, myself and FSK Henson arrived at a certain location to process and execute a search warrant for the two vehicles which possibly had been used to transport the deceased victims in the case. So going down to the third paragraph, after a brief discussion, it was decided that CBI would photograph, collect, and package all evidence located. CBI would also use adhesive-based rollers and collect any possible hairs, fibers, and other trace evidence from the Ford truck in an attempt to determine any recent possible occupants of the vehicle. What I find to be of particular interest is the notation that the adhesive rollers collecting evidence, also known, guys, as trace lifts, was for the purpose of detecting any possible passengers or people that were transported in that vehicle. So, given that Tammy Lee herself told us and told Chris Watts that one thing she knew was that Shanann, Bella, and Celeste were transported away from their house, 2825 Saratoga Trail, in his work truck, you would think that they would want to collect all evidence and analyze all possible evidence related to Chris Watts' work truck, wouldn't you think?
The only way they could have left is in your truck. The only way they could have left is in your truck.
Nichol Kessinger turned out to have information that I can best describe as being a bombshell.
Initially, you drew concern from me when you told me you deleted everything from Chris. I've already told you that. You understand why. There's no question as to why that might cause concern. So,
Okay, my friend. So there you heard Tammy Lee telling Chris Watts that she knows that Bella, Celeste, and his wife Shanann left their home in his work truck, and they were missing at the time. He hadn't confessed at all yet. And then we have J Roe describing the information Nichol Kessinger gave law enforcement as being bombshell information.
But Bazan, we're going to answer that question right now. Yes, they did find those things that you just mentioned, but listen what happened to those items after they collected them as evidence. This is the whole point here. I think it's terrible.
And then we have CBI's agent, Kevin Kobach, talking to Ms. Kessinger and saying, initially you drew concern for me when you deleted all of your text messages between yourself and Chris Watts, and there's no question as to why that is. So what have we established? We have established that investigators know that Chris's missing family left the home in his work truck, that Ms. Kessinger is a big part of this investigation, according to DA Rourke, bombshell information. And then we have the multiple interviews with Nichol Kessinger and Kevin Kobach, in which she repeatedly lies about why she deleted her messages, the text messages between herself and Chris Watts, and any information that relates to Chris Watts on her phone. Kobach comes straight out and tells her, you're shady. Considering investigators know that Ms. Kessinger knows so much that she has such an intimate and close relationship with Chris Watts right up until the day his family went missing. And they also know that she has been dishonest, that she destroyed evidence in this case, this triple plus homicide case. And these investigators, they don't really know what part she may have played leading up to, during the murders, or in the attempted cover-up of the murders. They also know that Chris Watts' work truck played a pivotal part in this crime. Don't you think they would want to know exactly who was in that truck, and particularly if Miss Kessinger was in that truck with Chris Watts? And even if they were going to protect her, even if they didn't care if Kessinger was in that truck with Chris Watts, don't you think that they would want to corroborate his confession and prove scientifically, with scientific evidence, that his confession was true, that the body of his deceased wife and his alive children were in the back of his work truck on that drive from Saratoga Trail to Survey 319? Wouldn't you think they would want to know that if they had the evidence right at their fingertips? There are many shortcomings from an investigative standpoint in this case that I and many
Pay close attention, y'all.
others find shocking, but this one I always find to be among the most stunning of them all. Let me read you part of this supplement from the discovery. It should be noted that on September 4th, 2018, while running through the evidence submission list with lab tech Patricia Lopez, several items were listed that CBI Lab ultimately did not wish to take possession of at that time. Those items are crossed out on the evidence submission form, which has been added to the case file. The refused items are as follows. I'm going to read the last three items. Driver's side seat cover from work truck. Trace lift from center console of Chris Watts' work truck. And trace lift from back seat driver side of Chris Watts' work truck. The items that were not taken by CBI are transported back to the Frederick Police Department and checked into evidence. Nothing further.
Mm-hmm.
So, my
Yeah.
friends, what that means is the trace lifts that were taken from Chris Watt's work truck for the purpose of determining if any other evidence were in that truck, that evidence was actually collected. CBI, Colorado Bureau of Investigation, chose to not send that evidence to their labs to analyze the evidence to determine what DNA could be found, what hair could be found, what other evidence, trace evidence could be found that would decisively identify what, if any, occupants were in Chris Watt's work truck, and they could also determine if those occupants were alive or deceased.
So that's that. What do you think about that?
Well, there's certainly not really a good explanation as to why they would have collected those samples
Do you
and
hear
not
me?
processed
Okay,
them.
there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's crazy. I think that's one of the most, to me, that's one of the most inflammatory pieces of information that we find out in the discovery about the investigation, because there was so much question about what happened that night. They didn't know what happened. They had the wrong idea of what happened, which means they didn't have any concrete evidence of what happened that they based their theory on. They did nothing to corroborate his confession when they had that evidence all the time, and all they needed to do was submit it for analysis.
Just run the tests. That's all they had
Just
to
run
do.
the tests.
Yeah,
Right.
because
Isn't
you
it?
have all of these different theories about, how, Nichol was waiting and hiding, I guess, out back. They took the bodies out back. I've heard that theory. I've heard a lot of different other theories. I've seen their surveillance where it looks like that certainly looks like Nichol Kessinger coming out of the garage. But, if you were to take that in front of a jury, I mean, the defense is just going to blow that up and have an expert talk about how the pixelation is way too much from that angle to make any definitive conclusion about who that was. And, fine, whatever. Never mind, there was a witness that said they saw something resembling Nichole's car out the front. But yeah, they accepted that confession. It's super 100% weird. And that's the thing about the discovery. The frustrating part about it was if you really do more than, a 20,000 foot view of the evidence, if you really look into it, it's like, okay, we did the autopsy, but why is there not really a toxicology done? We have all of this evidence collected, but where is the DNA analysis of it? You've collected all of these samples. The only explanation I could possibly think of from a practical perspective is they shut the investigation down once the confession was made, and there was no reason to spend the money to complete the analysis, which still, it doesn't really hold. I mean, is unreliable as Christopher Watts was with everything that he was saying, all these crazy stories he was throwing out there. It would have been worth at least why don't we just verify all of this? We got the DNA. If that makes sense, then fine. They already know that Nichol is being shady as F. And so we might as well just corroborate some of this information, which is the frustration with this case. Even if you want to consider the fact that Nichol was really just an unlucky mistress and she didn't know anything like this
in every way.
Yeah, I mean, at least verify, because of the lies that she was clearly telling to law enforcement. You got all this other circumstantial evidence. And I hear I read your commenter saying, is it about the money? I mean, it's really honestly not that expensive to conduct those tests if the county is paying for it. And so all they would have had to do was, I get it. I get the frustration with this case. I got it when I was just trying to go through the very simple exercise of what's going to be admissible, what's not, what is missing here. And there was a lot missing. What this looks like is they started an investigation, and just as it started getting good, cut it off.
And why is that? Because isn't it typical that, and guys, I hear you about, it sounds like there's a crime happening in the background. Yes, it's a teenager gaming. I'm going to tell him to be quiet in a minute. Just give me a second though. I can't believe you can hear him. He's pretty far away.
I thought that was the video that you were playing. Honestly.
No, sorry. I can't believe it was. I can't believe. Yeah, I'll go put him in check in a second. Sorry about that, guys. So wouldn't it be typical in a case, especially this magnitude, that's this horrific with all these victims, that there, okay, say even if somebody does plea or confess or whatever the case may be, that investigators would still want to corroborate some of the evidence to support that plea or that confession.
Especially when Christopher Watts is full stop in his interrogation, telling the interrogators that there are things that I'm going to take to my grave. I'm not telling you where I got the oxy from or whatever
He
he
makes
said.
no qualms about it, right? Yep. So, I mean, how unusual do you think it is that the investigation just ceased?
Leave Jim alone. I'm taking this to my grave. Never mind that. I didn't know this and that. There's way too many holes in there. Look, when I had a show with everybody that I've asked about this is that, look, if you're dating somebody and they just annihilate their family, how quick are you going to be to give your phone to law enforcement? Hey, I had nothing to do with this. You could have all of my stuff, whatever. I was having an affair. I was doing all this stuff. Whatever I could do to help, fine. Most people were of that opinion, but with Nichol, she was being untruthful about stupid things. And if you got Rourke calling her shady, and I know for a fact that initial interviewer, I forget his name, was questioning the veracity of her statements. Her dad was getting nervous because, like, hey, where are we going with this? He didn't know what he didn't know. And then they're full on taking swabs of all of this evidence. I feel like there was a good percentage of the investigators, perhaps the majority of the investigators, that were wanting to investigate those things, and it was shut down from a higher up. Why? It's anybody's guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's really it's remarkable. And I personally put the onus on District Attorney Rourke. Wouldn't he be the person who would be making those calls?
Well, he made the call. And here's the thing with him. He had the ability to further the investigation. He made the call to ultimately end the investigation. I heard that he went on some podcast and was like berating people that were interested in this case, calling them junior detectives and all of those things. But the reality of it is he made the decision. He made the call. Perhaps it was premature. Maybe there was some outside influence politically. Maybe he was adhering to the wishes of the family members. But he made that call, and he's been questioned and second guessed about it for 6 years until I guess it all comes out on this podcast he does with his wife, and he starts talking S about everybody. I feel like, is it possible that that he was influenced, or there's some big conspiracy to shut it down because of outside influences? Yeah, maybe. It's also possible that he just made a bad call and he's trying to defend it, and there's not a lot of ammunition to defend it because of so many questions that people have. And hey, normally, in my experience, when you got people where you have a 6-year-old case and there's all of these very obvious questions that people have not been able to answer, perhaps the investigation was shut down too early. That goes not just for Chris Watts, but for any investigation. And so, yeah, I feel like he's feeling the heat. I guess the question is whether or not it was just malfeasance on his part, or if it was, something a lot deeper, some other conspiracy from the outside that caused everything to be shut down when it was. Because it's very clear in the discovery, they were onto something, and then it was gone, and then it was done, which is unusual.
Now, I'm glad that you bring up Rourke in his podcast. I'm going to play a little clip. This one's only like 3 or 4 minutes. But so you can hear what he said in that podcast right here in comparison to what he said in his press conference after the sentencing of Chris Watts. So, see.
Found out that his wife was pregnant.
Yes.
And you did not know that prior. And you found that out via the newspaper articles, and that caused you concern.
Well, I just realized that he was lying to me, and I was like, well, if you can lie to me about this, what else are you lying to me about? And it made me realize that maybe his wife was in danger at that point, and it was day 2 too, and she still wasn't home.
What did that cause you to do with your phone, though?
Oh, what? When I deleted those? I was just kind of grossed out by him, to be honest with you. I was just like, I don't know what's going on right now, but you just lied to me, and I don't want to see this come over my phone anymore. So I removed it.
So you already said, but you removed text messages?
I deleted all of his stuff because he lied to me. I mean, that's what it was. It was the hurt that made me delete it. And then it was the lie that made me start questioning everything else he'd been telling me for the last few days.
And that's when you decided to come forward?
Yes.
You heard Kevin Kovacs' question there, and that's what made you come forward. And Nichol Kessinger, Chris Watts' mistress, replied, yes. And that's what this video is really about. Did Nichol Kessinger come forward with law enforcement by her own free will, on her own volition? Now, it's very interesting. Just as I was doing this video, I learned about the podcast that was created by Michael J. Rourke, the district attorney of Weld County, by his wife and a friend of hers named Kara. Although Mr. Rourke has not talked about this case very much at all in a while, and on that podcast, he talks about how he's sick of talking about this case, and he vowed to himself that he would no longer talk about it. Well, I can't play you the clip because I heard that a couple YouTube channels recently were struck by Mr. Rourke's wife for playing small bits of the podcast that I believe were probably fair for them to use.
They were fair for them to use because YouTube reversed the strikes, but moving on.
Under the Fair Use Act, but
Oops.
I don't want to risk it, so I'm just going to read to you what it was that he said. And I quote from Michael J. Rourke, "Stop asking about it. She didn't have anything to do with it. She wasn't there that morning. She voluntarily cooperated with law enforcement and she provided us all the information. I'm not going to tell you where she's at. Stop it. Leave me alone." Now, this was particularly interesting to me since two of the statements he makes in what he said there were things that we could turn into questions that could be asked in this video. Like, did Nichol Kessinger really voluntarily cooperate with law enforcement? And did she, in fact, provide law enforcement all the information? Well, we know that the answer to that last question is no, because she admitted so herself.
What did that cause you to do with your phone, though?
Oh, what? When I deleted those?
And then let's also hear what District Attorney Michael J. Rourke had to say about that very same topic back in 2018 after Chris Watts' sentencing.
The girlfriend you referenced in court, can you give us a better idea of her role in the investigation, how forthcoming she was, and how she helped?
She originally came forward and spoke to investigators on her own volition. Prior to the time, unfortunately, that she came in and spoke with investigators, she had deleted all of the information off of her phone that had any connection between her and Chris Watts. That hampered the investigation. That hampered our ability to get that electronic digital connection between the two. She was interviewed on multiple occasions. I believe that for the most part, she was forthcoming in the course of those investigations.
So I just want to point out that I do not think it is splitting hairs to say that she voluntarily cooperated with law enforcement is different than she hampered the investigation, and she provided us all the information is different than she deleted text messages off her phone. And the whole statement that he made recently on that podcast in April of 2023 is much different than, I believe for the most part, she was forthcoming. Those are two completely different answers and two completely different sentiments. And I believe legally they should have two very different consequences. But what I really want to know is, what do you think?
What do you think, Omar? I had to unmute myself.
Oh, well, it's nonsense. It's nonsense.
Yeah.
She did not voluntarily go to law enforcement. She went after her job outed her as, hey, this lady's been having an affair with CW. Then she's like, oh, okay, I better go to the cops. And then she deletes all of the messages before. She was aware. She's not a stupid girl. Hey, your family just went missing. Let me just delete all these text messages because I'm grossed out because you're lying to me. Come on now. On
That's
what level
the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Yeah, I know.
But not only did she delete the text messages, she deleted her web searches about how about how law enforcement would recover those messages. And it's I don't know how often I've ever deleted my search history.
No.
Let alone text messages. But search history is like a level too. It's just a level too deep for me to just write off as a bad breakup. So not only do you delete the text messages, you delete the call history, you try to destroy a SIM card because you don't understand how SIM cards work.
Right.
She deletes her searching about how long you can trace text messages and phone calls and things like that. And so she wasn't exactly forthcoming, and she specifically deleted evidence. She gave them the phone bills. Good on you for that. But she did not give them everything that she had. And then they probably
because they could have gotten them anyway, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. And then I'm not so sure that they didn't have burners during some time that they were communicating while they were away on these sand dune trips or whatever they were
You're
doing.
hitting all the points before I'm even getting to them. I love it. Yeah, I'm not so certain that they didn't have burners, and I absolutely think that there were third party, apps that they were using to communicate. And I'm going to get to that's going to be the next topic. And I just want to ask you this question. This is one of our questions from yesterday. So we heard Rourke's verbiage. We heard his language there, and he says it hampered the investigation. I think most of us can agree that hamper and hindered are synonymous with one another. And under the Colorado statute, the definition of one of the definitions for obstruction of justice is falsifying, hiding, or destroying evidence. And I'm sorry, that this was a different one, but falsifying, hiding, and destroying evidence, and lying while participating in an investigation. I mean, she certainly did all those things.
Well, yeah, it's deleting electronic evidence is a major crime.
Yeah.
And they could have convicted her on that by herself. They chose not to do that.
Thank you.
But she's 100%
saying that forever. Yeah.
of all of that. It's a felony. I forget. I don't know what the maximum is, but it's a felony.
Yeah.
Could have got her for that. That obstruction. I'm not so sure about the accessory charge. I don't know if they had enough to get her on that, but for sure, the destruction and obstruction thing. Yeah, they had her on that. And they chose not to charge her with that because, she cooperated freely and voluntarily. No, she didn't.
Oh, no, she didn't. I know. It's just so crazy. Yeah. And, one of the things we also went over last night was the definition. It was, what you have to meet, the criteria you have to meet for an accessory charge. And I think there is certainly, at the very least, a strong case could be made in court that she was accessory before, during, or after.
If you believe she was there within 200 yards of the house or 400 yards of the house because of the cell phone ping, and there's not a reasonable explanation to explain away why her cell phone pinged at the Watts residence, then it's reasonable and probable to suggest that she had knowledge of what was going on and she was helping Chris get rid of evidence. That's a circumstantial fact that I don't think you need to rely on emotion to get. You just simply need the logic. Hey, why else would she be there when she'd never been there prior to that at that specific time between 2 and 6 a.m. when Shanann had just got home and he just happens to be on his way to survey 319 to dispose of bodies, or however you think that happened.
It's right after the 111-minute phone call. One thing that I've noted in a lot of my videos is that on that phone bill that she submitted, like the martyr that she is,
I know.
The 111-minute phone call that is not in the discovery timeline, notably, is right next to the 6:16 a.m. ping. There's no activity on her phone that we can tell from that phone bill in between. I mean,
it's not a leap for law enforcement. I mean, they know why her phone was off. Well, they know why it was off because she was hiding her activity with the phone. Maybe she screwed up and called somebody at 6:6. I've heard that theory lodged, but she did. She screwed up. She turned it on her phone too early. Doesn't show up to work until about 3:00 that day. Starts making phone calls to the 73-year-old sex cult pastor, minister, whatever he is.
Chat loves you right now. Chat loves you. Yep.
It's just a bridge too far for me to just write that off and not investigate, which is the frustration with the case. And so for Rourke to say that, voluntarily and everything else he said is just nonsense. That's not what happened. What it is a public justification to get everybody to shut up about it because he's making this decision one way or the other.
And as he says, leave me alone. She didn't do this. No. She didn't do this. She didn't do this. Leave me alone, junior detectives. I am just so disgusted with that man. I can't even. Until the podcast came out, I did not like him. I was certainly not a Michael J. Rourke fan by any means. But I go too hard on him. But after that podcast came out, he just disgusted me so much in that podcast. I can't even emphasize it enough. He's just,
I mean, I'll stick up for him a little bit with that regard. And it's something I've said on my podcast before, that attorneys, lawyers, district attorneys, law enforcement, people that are in charge of these investigations are some of the most insecure people that you will ever meet. And
oh yeah,
that they screw something up. I mean, you've been to law school, and how does it feel when the professor calls on you and they ask you, "Hey, what is the definition of a contract?" Well, or did you read the case, the learned hand case or whatever, and you
he
didn't.
starts sweating and
Yeah. I mean, you spend 3 years being grilled that way, and then you got to study for the bar, and then you get into practice, and you don't know anything about practicing law, and you get there. So now here he is. He's in charge of this investigation, and he made a bad call, and he's been hearing about it for 6 years. It's probably fried his nerves for a little bit. So I understand his anger and frustration with that. It doesn't absolve him of the malfeasance and the malpractice that he committed in not furthering the investigation.
Absolutely. Amen is, who Marina just said, amen, Omar. Can I get a hallelujah? Yes, I'm sure I can. All right. So you just mentioned, and I know that you, and guys, if you welcome, if you're just getting here, I'm so happy you guys are all here. Come on in, hit like, listen to everything Omar has to say. His channel is TheTiltedLawyer on YouTube. It's amazing. And just recently he did a video series on the theoretical hypothetical trial of Nichol Kessinger. It's truly awesome. And I mean, I was just like hanging on every word. It's like, this is great. And your mom is awesome too, by the way. I liked it when you had her on. That was the first one I watched. It's just truly awesome. So everybody definitely go subscribe, check it out. It's truly awesome. Now you mentioned, okay, at some point, I think it was in the last video you put out about the hypothetical trial, that Nichol Kessinger's phone was strangely quiet. I think it was part of your case that you were making when you were, he played at some point the defense attorney, the prosecution, and the judge. It's really quite remarkable. You're talented.
I did my best.
Just slid right between those roles like seamlessly. You mentioned that, Nichol Kessinger's phone was strangely quiet on Monday, August 13th. And yes, it was. We had the 111-minute phone call on Sunday night from 9:28 to 11:19. And then the next event that we have on our phone bell is the 6:16 a.m. ping. And then after that, there's nothing until 2:38 when she called that person, I think. And now she said, now a lot of you here will know this if you've been watching this channel, or maybe you just know anyway, that she said several times in her interviews that she did not talk to Chris Watts during the day on Monday, the day of the murders. She said that at least 3 times. I mean, outwardly, like you just expressively. I did not talk to him on the phone during the day. So, well, here, I'm just going to play this little clip here. So this, Omar, is from the second half of the August 21st, the second of the 2 phone interviews. Both those phone interviews, at some point during the middle, the audio just shut off. And then what was said after that was like the really good stuff. So listen to this. I love facts and experts. Thanks for being here. All right. It's right around. Okay. And also importantly, she also said, she's just so exhausting. I just have to take a breath and try to energize when talking about this one, the skanky empanada. That that's what we call her here. So I think I have a playlist called the Skanky Empanada. I think I do. No, Dirty Empanada. That's what it is. Okay. Anyway, so she says in a couple of her interviews, same as she says she didn't talk to Chris Watts during the day on Monday. She also talks about in 2 interviews when she's asked about Chris Watts going straight to Serby 319 that morning instead of going to the office first. And one of the times she mentions that because she's being almost, I dare say, grilled. I don't think Kobach ever really grills her, honestly, but he's grilling her to the degree he does about the 111-minute phone call, and he's kind of not letting her off the hook. So she says, I do remember, because he's like, what did you talk about? What did you talk about? I do remember that he told me that he was going straight out to the field that day. So
Yeah.
he wouldn't see me on, Monday morning. And he's like, is this normal or whatever he asked? Some terrible question, I'm sure. And she basically says, yeah, that's normal. It's no big deal. That happens. They do it all the time. 2 interviews. Yeah, it's normal. Sometimes the guys go out to the field. We don't see them. Totally normal stuff. What does she say? What is it? Standard order of operation or whatever. She gets her metaphors mixed.
Mhm.
It's just I can't with her. But okay, listen to this. Listen to what she says in this interview. Well, I'm sorry, you can't listen to it. You can listen to me playing the role of NK and Kevin Kovac.
Oh, brilliant.
I have talents too. Because we don't have an audio of this. So that's what you're going to be hearing here. I might have to skip around a little to find the right spot. But they're talking about right now, she's talking about her suspicion now, all of a sudden, that he went out to the field to Survey 319 rather than the office. Now she's suspicious of it. And every time she changes her story like this, you better believe it's because she realized that after she found out law enforcement was going to have access to some information on her phone, she realized something that was on that phone and she needed to try to cover it up. I feel like it's very clear that that's what happens every time, just like this. But she says something in trying to cover up whatever she's trying to cover up. She slips, and I think this is huge, and I want to know what you think.
Yes. There is it's a business. I'm just trying to think as a business person how they would do that, because certainly if you're doing that, they want to get the team out there and clean up whatever is going on as soon as possible. So they can get that piece of equipment back in order and running so they can continue to pump oil. Understood. Well, and to the other thing too is he hadn't even looked at the site yet. So it's like, how do you know that you need to do a lockout tagout?
Oh, thank you. Muted yourself, Kelly.
Thank you. I just want to say that all of the likes that I'm saying here, I'm not inserting them to poke fun or anything. I'm saying them because I'm reading from the transcript, because those are the words that came out of the empanada's mouth. So this is exactly what she said. Okay. Incredible amount of likes.
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. That's noted unintelligible. I mean, I would like to, it's something for me to investigate. I'm just kind of trying to get because you obviously know a lot. Yeah, more about the oil industry. I don't know anything about it. That makes sense to me. And that's good. So that's good. Cool. Thank you. Yeah, I didn't even think of that till just now. So anyways, that is a question for Anadarko. That's not a question for me. Yup. So he told me he was going to have to do that. And I was like, all right, cool. So he didn't show up for work. He did show up for work on Monday, but supposedly he was in the field. And then Monday evening, after my friend Jim left, that's when Chris and I spoke on the phone in that first really extended conversation. Again, I don't know exactly what time it was. It was late, but that first really extended conversation, that's when he started kind of all that really creepy stuff. And then in that conversation, I started questioning him. And I was like, do you really? I don't even remember exactly what I said, but I asked him, I was like, did you really go to a job site this morning? And he was like, yeah. I was like, and who told you to go there? And I think he said his foreman had asked him to go, either him or his co-cowing man is this guy named Troy. I don't know Troy. I don't even know what he looks like, but I do know he exists. So I guess their foreman relies on Chris and Troy to kind of run their little part of the field. And so Chris was like, yeah, my foreman asked either he or Troy go out there and go look at it. And do you know the foreman's name? I don't. He's got a few of them, I think. Okay. I want to say that's okay. I want to say Luke Apple, but I don't know. You're going to need to find that out with Anadarko too. Okay. That's an Anadarko question. That's all right. And I know who, but Luke is, and I know who Troy is, so probably have already answered that. Okay. All right. Yes. Great. So, anyways, so I told him to prove it because at this point, I mean, the things he'd been saying, like the sheets was kind of weird. You know what it was? It was a wedding ring comment that freaked me out. Like the sheets did, like was kind of weird at the time. The fact that I thought he had just lied to me about their separation, but it was like the wedding ring comment. Like he was so callous. Like he was just ready to like cash it in and get some money. You were telling me. And I was just like, him to prove what? To prove that they had told him to go to the field right away. Okay, so, and he's like, how do you want me to do that? And I was like, you take screenshots of your Anadarko phone and you text them to me. And did he do that? And yes, he did. Okay, all right.
Gamer Zone. Now, one of the reasons this is also so important is that another area where she flip flopped was she maintained in her first two interviews fully until during the course of the second interview on the 16th, she found out that she was going to have to submit her phone records and that. And Kevin Kovac says, we already have your phone records for the last 7 days. So she's like, oh my God, crap, I'm going to have to cover up all this stuff now. So she had been saying that she had no suspicion whatsoever, or she didn't have any weird feelings or suspicion. Nothing alerted her, nothing triggered her, nothing red alerts or what all these weird things she says about Chris Watts as it related to his wife and children being missing until, and she says this so many times in so many different words, until Tuesday when she opened up the newspaper and read that Shanann was 15 weeks pregnant. And it was at that point when she became suspicious, and it was a lie, that blah, 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 and it was a blah, whatever she says in that weird statement where she talks about why she deleted the messages on her phone. So she maintained so strongly up until, in the first two interviews at least, that she had no suspicions of Chris. I didn't think anything was weird at all on Monday for the entirety of the day and the evening. And then she realizes that, oh my God, law enforcement already has my phone records. They're going to see that on Monday evening, we talked like a billion times, long conversations, short conversations, totaling over about 2.5 hours, all the way till I think it was like 2:11 a.m. in the morning. So it was she clearly was. So now she's saying, oh, I was so worried. That's why there were all these calls, because I was like, I'm freaking out. I'm worried about your family. Where's your kids? Where's your kids? So she changed that story. So I just wanted to point that out there, because now when she's talking about, she contacted Chris Watts, and I got to plug my computer in. I'm going to keep talking while I'm doing that. She contacted Chris Watts on Monday morning asking for proof that he was, in fact, at Survey 319, when she had previously said time and time again that was totally normal. Now she's like, I was freaked out by, the wedding ring comment, even though she was the one that was like, pawn it did. So all of these stories are changing. Nothing obviously has been consistent, and obviously bitch be liar. So let's keep listening.
And he didn't send me the whole conversation, but there was 2 pictures of a release, followed intermittently, like there was text like on either side of the picture. And it looked, I didn't get everything. He just sent me like part of their conversation, and I didn't have dates and times on either. Like you couldn't see the dates and times of what he was sending me. So he could have been sending me something that was like not recent. It could have been something from like weeks ago, and I wouldn't have known, but he sent it to me, and he sent it quick. Like it just like instantaneously when I asked him for it, like I was still on the phone.
Whoa. What did she just say there? I stopped it too quick. She said, he sent me like instantaneously. I was still on the phone with him. Oh, what? You were on the phone with him? I thought you didn't talk to him during the entire day on Monday. What's that all about, NK? Tell
with
me.
him and wrote. Then I looked at it while I was still on the phone.
She says it again.
Yeah.
And it made sense of what he'd been saying, but okay. The only thing in there, yeah, like it almost looked like someone else was originally going to go to that site, and it looked like the conversation, someone I interpreted it, the conversation that had with his foreman and with Troy or whoever was in that conversation. It looked like the conversation had occurred probably at some point over the weekend. And then it looked like Troy, I think, or somebody else in the field was originally going to go out there first thing on Monday, and he told them not to worry about it and that he would do it. Okay. And I don't know the exact words, like I don't.
I think we might have lost Kelly.
Okay. Sorry about that. But
There you are.
I was talking about happens sometimes. Okay. So that's all we need to hear of that anyway. So what do you make of that?
Well, first of all, if I was her attorney, I wouldn't let her say any of those things. So whatever her dad's role in trying to, I guess, protect her during the interrogation, he didn't do a very good job. But what she sounded like was, it sounded like she was filibustering. She had to come up with some kind of a story. She was all over the place. And that by itself should have drew a lot of, why are we so confused about this specific points?
Mm-hmm.
And then the other question, how often had he sent you pictures from the work sites that he was visiting? Was that like a normal thing? Why did he do it on that specific day? Another red flag, because he did. He sent her that picture.
Right.
And so part of the discovery should have been every single picture that he's ever sent her from that work site. It should have been on an exhibit board. And look, on these specific dates, it was just like the regular scope of business.
And there would have only been one.
But if there was the only one, well, the question is why? On the specific dates that he was getting rid of the bodies and all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And so once again, it's not very difficult to find inconsistencies with Nichol in the investigation, which leads me to the cross-examination, which by the way, in real practice would never, ever, ever, ever happen. There's no competent defense attorney. There's not even an incompetent defense attorney that's going to put her on the stand. So my mock exam, cross-exam will never happen. Mm-hmm. Regardless of whether or not they reopen the investigation, regardless of whether or not she's charged with anything in the future. Mm-hmm. It's just never going to happen because of all of those inconsistencies. She will get torn apart. It's too easy to do that with all of the, and so it's just not difficult to find evidence that Nichol is a liar and that she's hiding something, and she clearly didn't want law enforcement to find something, and she was very interested in making sure that they didn't find specific things, and she didn't have good or reasonable explanations for why certain things were the way they were. And I think you highlighted a lot of that in your voiceover there. And so let's list that as exhibit 194 about why people are looking into Nichol about her possible involvement in a conspiracy to commit murder.
Junior detectives are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's so crazy. And I didn't catch that that she said that she was on the phone with him on Monday until I don't know when. It was, I'd had this maybe like a year and a half ago. Let's just pick a date, like something like that. And I just couldn't believe it because everybody who is involved in talking about this case, commenting on this case, said, well, it was an agreed fact that they did not talk during the day on Monday, but they did. So what that said to me, earlier you mentioned the possibility of them using burner phones. Mm-hmm. So Now we know that this call between Chris Watts and Nichol Kessinger, when she asked him to prove that he was a Survey 319, and she gets those images while she's still on the phone with him. She says it twice. I think she says it again if I kept reading and we kept listening. It doesn't appear on her phone bill. We know that. So how were they talking? Did she call him from a work phone? I guess at Anadarko, pretty much everybody used cell phones. There weren't even a lot of work phones, maybe like the administrative people, like administrative assistants, I mean, or anyway. So either that, or maybe she had a burner phone, or were they communicating through a third party app like Skype or what, so I just think that the fact that she said she was on the phone with him when she got those images says so much about so many things that she lied about that I think would be critical in this case if there were a case against Nichol Kessinger.
Yeah, and so the problem with that is now, I mean, all of that would have been great to examine back in 2018, but now we've had 6 years of passage of time.
Right.
Those records are never, ever, ever getting recovered. They're gone forever. No other reason why they shut the investigation down. But you're right. There's so many, like I said, if you look at this with any bit of scrutiny whatsoever, you're going to find those holes. And it's the frustration that everybody has. And I understand it and Rourke to have shut it down when he did. If it wasn't politically motivated, it was just his professional decision. Well, that was a terrible move. And he needs to either own it or, I mean, I don't know what else he's going to do. But yeah, it was a bad move, and you can't really defend it. And when you saw him try to defend it, it didn't make any sense. And he just started coming out with a bunch of untruths. Like she came in voluntarily, she did all this stuff, and she helped us out in the investigation, and she was forthcoming because we know different. It's not hard to do that it's not true.
Yeah, it's just. Do you think that I don't want to ask this question because I'm afraid the answer is going to make me cry. Do you think there's a possibility this case could ever be reopened?
Yes, I do. I don't think there's a good chance.
Right.
Think about it. What's the budget going to be for a case like that to reopen this investigation? It's probably a cold case. It's not a case. It's not even a cold case. They got their man, Chris Watts.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's the budget to start an investigation into Nichol Kessinger for a crime that happened 6 years ago, where you're not going to find any evidence? Let's just say that you had a motivated DA. They get Rourke out of it, to put a new person in and say, all right, we're going full bore against NK. What are they going to get in terms of evidence that's going to lead to a conviction? Because when I did my mock trial, I found it a lot easier to make the defense's case on closing argument than the prosecutor's evidence. If all I have is the cell phone ping and the 5 phone calls and all the other stuff and the wayward communications, you know what the defense is going to say, that look, this was a young lady, and we're never going to know. And mind you, reasonable doubt is a standard. We're never going to know what was exactly said in the deleted information, in the phone calls themselves, which is true. What that was, it wasn't a plan or a conspiracy to commit murder. That was a woman that was devastated at the prospect that the man that she was dated annihilated her family, and she behaved in a manner of trying to get information, and she was afraid of what was going to happen, or maybe she was disgusted and she reacted the way a young girl would, and she wasn't a young girl, she was like 30 years old. But she made some mistakes, but then she was forthcoming. Isn't there a universe out there that exists? Isn't it reasonable to suggest that there is a universe out there where a woman would go through all of that and make some mistakes in the moment and then try to rectify it in the future, but she wasn't guilty of conspiracy to commit murder? And the answer to that is always going to be yes, because we can't prove the case with what we have so far.
Right.
So the question is, can we reopen the case? Yeah, we can. But what is the probability that they're going to get evidence to fill in the gaps?
Yeah.
And that's the problem. And what's the budget for an investigation like that? Probably slim to none. What do you want, a couple $100 a month?
Right.
500 a month? It's not going to be, 50,000. We're not going, and we're not going to re-engage the FBI and local law enforcement to track down Nichol Kessinger, who, by the way, may or may not be a protected witness anymore. I don't know where she's at. But yeah, it's possible they can reopen an investigation, but it would have to take a mind-blowing bit of evidence that gets uncovered to do so.
Oh man. Well, we're digging. I mean, and also, my thought is this was like a second part of that question. So DA Rourke, won uncontested in the last election. He's up for one more term.
Yeah.
I mean, so I always, I kind of think, because I mean, I really and truly, if you probably can tell, know that I truly believe there's issues of incomplete justice in this case,
Mhm.
and it burns my soul every single day. That's why I keep talking about it. It's why a lot of people keep talking about it and learning about it and getting inflamed by it and and start talking about it. Like I just so strongly believe in that, and it's just so clear to me. And so I've always wondered, if district work weren't the person in the district attorney's office and it were someone else who was a reasonable human being and not a pompous asshole like Mr. Rourke, the Honorable Mr. Rourke.
Yeah.
Would that person, be open to having the case reopened? I don't know. I guess we don't know.
Well, you have significant chain of custody issues now with the electronic evidence. Where are we going to recover those records? How reliable is the recovery of the cloud information? What possibly could be derived now on a 6-year-old case that should have been recovered back in 2018? We may be able to go and revisit. I'd imagine that the physical evidence that recovered from Watt's truck still exists somewhere. So that's something that you could possibly rely on. So just run the tests. And if the tests come back and, oh yeah, there's definitely evidence that Bella and Cece were in the truck and nobody else, and there's remnants of or DNA evidence that Shanann was there and she was clearly deceased, then it would corroborate CW's story, and then maybe that would serve to exculpate Nichol. But on the other hand, if you found out that Nichole's DNA was in there, would that necessarily mean that she was there as an accessory to murder, or has she just simply been in there prior to that, maybe at the Lazy Dog or something? And so how far can you really take that evidence? Even if you found her DNA in the car, what does that really mean? What can you do with that? Where do you get rid of reasonable doubts? That's the problem with a case like that. And absent that, you don't have any more electronic evidence that you can rely upon anymore. I just don't know where the rest of the evidence is going to come from unless you find Jim and says, oh yeah, that freaking lady, she definitely did it. Let me tell you a story. Nobody wanted
Leave
to
Jim alone. Leave Jim alone.
Maybe Jim comes forward at some point and just decides to tell his story. He sells his story to the Lawn Crime Network for $1 million, and they get his accounts of everything. Maybe it would take some kind of unforeseen witness to come forward and implicate Nichol for this to legitimately get Nichol charged with something at this point.
Yeah. Well, Jim, I think that we have a whole channel of people that would be willing to drop a penny in the piggy bank to start a fund for you. What's it going to take to have you come forward, Jim? Because I'm open to making a deal with you. Yeah. I'm not going to leave Jim alone. Yeah, no, that would be amazing. But, so I have a friend. I told you I had, my friend, his name is Alex. He's a defense attorney as well. And he and my dad used to be the people I used to refer to as a What's the Obsession legal consultant team. And, I don't talk to him very much about this case anymore because he started he had a non-for-profit, but it's really picked up in this side of the world. I wanted him to look into this case for so long because he's absolutely brilliant. And he and his wife are both attorneys, and she's been staying home with the kids. But I thought he would find some things in it that we could maybe work with. He was like, no. He'd tell me that he looked at it, but I knew he didn't because he was like, oh, there's no problem with this. I'm like, there's so many problems with this. You're lying. Yeah. And so finally, he started reading the discovery and he was like, oh my God, he just couldn't let it go. He was like, he couldn't believe what he was reading. Right. And so the story goes, and I have to be careful about what I say here because at one point I said too much and I got in a lot of trouble with him. So all I can say is this. That he had talked to somebody who was close to the investigation, and there's no reason that he would definitely not be dishonest with me, but there's no reason that he would tell me something that was in any way exaggerated or in any way that this person said that they recovered all of Nichol Kessinger's, all of the text messages between the two. Do you think that's possible?
Yeah, I do. I definitely don't think that the discovery file is complete. There's no way that it's complete. Like, for example, there's been a lot of theories about how the bodies were transported. Some people have suggested that they were taken out through the back, not through Christopher Watts's truck.
Right.
And I understand that there was a lot of construction going on, but if I'm looking at a satellite map of where the Watts house was positioned, there's residences. It's surrounded by residences on all sides.
It
If you
is.
think about the back, there's one street that you could reliably go down Verana Court or something like that. It's the back end of a cul-de-sac, but there's residents there. There's going to be surveillance. Somebody's going to have security cameras, and then you got to meander your way out of this neighborhood. If you try to go through the alleyway, there's multiple houses right here that I'm looking at the satellite that are going to have cameras that are positioned probably right there. I got to believe, and it would have taken maybe a day to canvass the neighbors for surveillance footage, especially if they're looking for Shanann. And well, hey, we saw her go in. She go in through the front. She certainly didn't leave through the front. So how would she have possibly gone out through the back? And then you start going through all of this. Even if they go through the lot, if you turn right outside of the Watts residence and go through this little field, you're still in like the heart of this residential suburb area. There's nowhere to escape surveillance from some house somewhere. That's why you got Nate's camera. I don't believe that all of these surveillance footage is accounted for in what the public knows.
No,
100%
absolutely not. No.
And we
Now,
already know
go ahead.
that we already know that you don't have a complete accounting of Nicole's phone, because there's images that are included. There's images that are not. There's been a lot of stuff that's been redacted, and you're never going to get to see what those were. And so, yeah, there's probably evidence that the public doesn't know about that the investigators have.
Absolutely. Now, in chat, a bunch of people are just saying that at the time of the murders, that the area behind the houses were empty. They weren't completely built. They were under still new construction. But still, I see your point. I personally have never found taking them out through the back to be plausible.
Yeah.
But that's something I say a lot on this channel. I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again. I could be wrong about that, unless I know I'm right. Then I'll say, but I know I'm right about that.
If you go into Google Maps and you look up the Watts residence, like the houses, like you can see the empty lot, you could see like the vastness of like the emptiness. And so I know what they're talking about, but still, if you look at that satellite, you're going to run up to surveillance somewhere. They got to hit this road, State Highway 52. There's gas stations, there's businesses, there's different places. There's a number of different ways to track that. That you're not going to get out of there without being picked up on surveillance somewhere, especially if they know to look for Nicole's car, especially if they think that there was a witness that saw her car there, especially if they had a cell phone ping there. There's no chance that they didn't surveil the entire entrance and exits to figure out what footage existed and what didn't.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I see everything you guys are saying, and y'all are right. Y'all, I know you're obsessed and you're probably right, but still, nonetheless, I think the point stands. Now, what about this document right here? So page 283 of the redacted discovery is this document right here. Now, first of all, when I came across this, again, I don't know how long ago it was, I had never read it, and I honestly don't think anyone ever had either, because I never heard anyone talk about it until we brought it up. That's cool. But, it's just like one of these little details that's in there, but I think it's a big deal, maybe. And I started to look into, one thing at a time, Kelly, slow down. Okay, I will. All right. So what do you make of this? So let me make it a little bigger. What does it mean? Whoops, that's not the one. There it is. Okay. So it's going to shift over. I have to, okay. So everyone can see it. So we have an FBI collected items log. Whoops, document 283. Okay. Once again, slow down. Okay. So we have, I have a couple questions about this. Actually, I have three. So, okay. Details. Recorded interview of Nichol Kessinger, parentheses, capital, protect identity, on August 15th, 2018. That's the date of the FBI interview. What does that mean? Protect identity.
I don't think it really means a whole lot. Well, for example, I don't think that means that she was like a confidential informant or anything like that. But at the time, they were trying to protect her identity because it was an active investigation. And so, for example, you had asked me in email prior to that, what it meant to be, what's the difference between getting immunity and being a protected witness,
Yeah.
Protected witness just means exactly what it means. It doesn't mean you have immunity. It just means we're protecting your identity and your whereabouts and all of that. It doesn't mean a whole lot in terms of whether or not you're going to get charged or not. If you have immunity, that's completely different. There's a couple different types. We're not going to do anything with what you say in this interview. In other words, we're not going to charge you on the basis of this interview. For example, Bill Cosby just got out of jail because they told him that. And then he gave a deposition, and then they used that deposition to convict him. And then they, on appeal, got it reversed because you can't do that because you said that you're not going to do that. And so that's one form. And then there's another version of immunity is you're going to be protected from any charges forthcoming from this event.
Okay.
But
Wait, say that again. Say that again. The second one.
We're not going to charge you with anything with relation to the incident, meaning the murders, accessory.
And is that a blanket guarantee to the person come hell or high water? This comes up a lot when we talk about this.
Usually there's a document. Sometimes it's made public. Most of the times it's not. But if the DA would ever try to bring forth those charges, then the defense attorney would say, hey, wait a minute, we had a deal and here's a writing. And then, it would go through those. So
it's not always made public if somebody has immunity. Okay.
For obvious reasons, because of scrutiny and the blowback and all of those things.
There you go, Nancy Ann. There's because she had thought that you said that immunity is always made public, and I said, but that doesn't make sense. Then it wouldn't be immunity. They wouldn't be. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Very good. Okay. That was a question. Hey, Zwolki, how's it going? Nice to see ya. Let's see. Let me go to my little list of questions here and see what we what I did or didn't cover. See, well, I did research, got that one. Nothing on the timeline. So the occult connections. I mean, you touched upon it, but what did I write here? This is something I know far less about than many because I started to look into it and I didn't find it to be material to the case, really, in my opinion, but I could be wrong about that. A few people mentioned briefly that you had briefly discussed on your channel, and they were interested in hearing more about what you know about the occult connections. And there are supposed to be more. Oh, that's it.
Well, all I know about the occult connections is that the specific group that her minister or spiritual advisor was a part of was an offshoot of Freemasons, meaning like a Christian cult, not a mainstream Freemason, but like some kind of offshoot group.
Okay.
And they, as part of their membership, required they had these initiation ceremonies. And so I don't know if anybody had ever looked into it, what specifically that meant. Do you get to you joining a gang, you have to fight a bunch of people? Do you have to is there like a human sacrifice that you have to do? And then I went on Zwolki's show, as a matter of what's up, Zwolki? I made the same point that even if you were to bring some people to court to talk about what there was, you're not going to get any information out of them. They're not going to come, oh yeah, we definitely practice human sacrifices as initiation. And so it's secret for a reason. And that specific group has been around since the 1800s. They're not going to tell you about their membership policies, and everything that is out there in the public is going to be very mainstream Freemason stuff. Matter of fact, there was actual Freemasons that got very upset with me for even bringing it up, say, hey, don't lump us in with them. That's like, I wasn't trying to. This is a very specific group. I'm not implicating all Freemasons. I know that there's good and bad. I'm just saying there is this specific group. They've been around for a long time. They have a very pronounced history. They've been around for like 150 years. And if you're telling me that they have initiation ceremonies as a means to membership, and all of this occurs, and then family disappears, and then she's on the phone with her advisor when she hadn't been on the phone with her advisor leading up to that, just happens on this day, then I got a lot of questions.
Yeah. That is, you're right. I mean, absolutely. That's a great point. I mean,
it just speaks to motive.
It's so big. Yeah.
It's motive in the darkest of places. I'm not saying that it's probable that she was involved in some kind of satanic ritual that involved a human sacrifice. I'm just saying it's worth a second look. Yeah.
Wow. Oh my God. That's so crazy. That's just so crazy. Let's see. Let me go. Whoops. questions here. So, I know. So many people report paranormal, unexplainable things happening, deep diving into this case, including me. And I am not one to, believe that I have paranormal experiences. I mean, I actually know that I had a significant one years and years ago that I fully believe happened because I lived it, right? And it was so crazy. But you have done a lot of content work on this case and understanding and working out this case theoretically. Have you had any experiences like this that you think
Paranormal experiences?
paranormal around you?
Well, nothing that I could identify as paranormal. I will say that there was somebody out there that thought that I was like a mainstream shill for Nichol Kessinger because I wasn't like, I guess, going hard enough in the direction of her guilt and everything.
Okay.
They thought I was like paid off by, I don't know what they thought, but I certainly was not. But if anybody wants to pay me off, no, I'm kidding.
Yeah, right. Starting a fund right now. Go fund Omar.
Yeah, no, I haven't had any crazy experiences as of yet.
Okay.
But I will say that for, I don't know how long I've been covering the case now, for like a month. I've done what, 4 or 5 episodes, 3 or 4. I don't remember how many it is.
I feel like 4 maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, there's definitely not anything I would definitely say, oh yes, I've been the victim of a witchcraft voodoo.
Yeah. Cool.
But
yeah.
you never know.
You never know. I had this one. I'm just gonna like briefly like kind of tell you what happened because people ask me. I never talk about this. So here you go. Here's everyone's little treat. So I'm not gonna go into as much detail as I did the first time I told the story, but I was sitting right here in my living room and I was finishing up a master's degree program at the time, and I had to take a test, like one of those tests you have to take the following day. And it was a really hard test. I actually didn't pass it the first time, and I always pass tests. So I was studying really hard, really focused on it. Just wanted to get this out of my way so I could move forward, get the degree, and just be over with it. You all know that feeling if you've gone through any kind of program that you have to finish and there's pressure. Anyway, so I was up late and I heard something. I heard like some weird sounds, and I was like a little bit like his NK would say on alert about it. And then I heard ringing at my door. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning. Now, where I live in a small town. It's very quiet. It's a very kind of like nice, quiet street. People don't knock on my door after like 8, So I was like, oh my God, like, what is it? I immediately got scared because who's knocking on my door? I'm like, is there an emergency? What's going to be on the other side of my door? So I kind of got up and walked towards the door, and I got close to it and knock, 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 ring, 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 ring again. I was like, so I was like, who's there? Nobody answered. And I was like, okay. And then I heard knock, 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 ring, ring, ring again. I said, who's there? I was getting really panicked at this point. Nobody answered. So I was kind of, if anyone follows the Idaho case, in frozen shock phase like Dylan Mortensen. Does that mean anything to you? No.
No.
Okay, don't worry about it then. But if you know, you know. And so I just sort of stood there and I was listening. I didn't want to like return to what I was doing because obviously there's someone there. My doorbell rang, somebody knocked. As soon as I went to like turn to walk away from the door, my doorbell went like ring, 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 like it was
Wow, that's creepy.
So scary. I screamed. I ran and got the phone. I called the police. I wouldn't let them get off the phone with me. I was so scared. I just could feel something there. It was so scary. So the police show up, I have them come check the house, and they left. And then I finally, this was like a couple hours later at this point, started to fall back asleep. Guess what? Ring, 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 ring. I called a friend who came over. I did not sleep that entire night. I did not get to take the test the next day. The next day, I got a Ring camera and a crucifix.
When did that happen?
When I was in the very beginning of this channel, when I was starting to really dive into the case. Yeah, and there's been some things that have happened since then, but
yeah.
So that's my story. I feel like kind of like a crazy person even telling that story, but it happened and it was really weird.
Well, that would freak me out. That certainly would freak me out. There's only been one time where somebody rang the doorbell that late, like at 2, 3 in the morning. I literally got up and answered the door, had a baseball bat in my hand. I was like, I was ready. It was the cops. It's like, what is going on? I left my garage door open.
Oh my gosh.
You know, it's like, oh, and I'm literally like sitting there like in my boxer shorts and my baseball bat, and I'm like ready to, go to war with whatever is behind the door. And it's like this lady cop with the, hey, just letting you know. That's the only story I got like that.
Well, that's nice. She let you know your garage door is open. That's when you know you live in a good neighborhood. So good. That's good.
Yeah, no, that was greatly appreciated. I felt like really stupid afterwards because,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know. I felt stupid when those cops came by and I was like, would you please come in and check my house? I have all these windows in the back. I'm afraid. And he's like, you want me to come in? Because usually people don't want cops coming in their house.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, please come in. I'm scared. Oh my gosh. So do you guys have any questions for Omar? Oh, Sub Rosa says, can we do this again, Kelly and Omar? Absolutely. I would love to.
Whenever you want to do this again, I am down to do it again.
Yes, we'll come up with some a new. Well, actually, there are more questions. I kind of like put questions in two pools. We came up with them yesterday, and I have so many more questions. I could just grill you for a long time. But yeah, no, thank you so much. You've been very generous with your time and your answers and your knowledge, and it's just so like satisfying, and it really fills a need we have in this channel community. I think in like the Watts Island community, as they call it in general, to have certainly a lawyer, and there's a couple other kind of like professional people that would be helpful if they could weigh in. But for some reason, there's not a lot of people that do that like on YouTube, but I'm so glad that you are. And I think that it's really is going to I just think that you speaking about this is going to help to sort of stabilize the information that's out there on the case and hopefully minimize the BS and allow people to realize that the facts are the facts. And there goes my computer again. I'll be right back.
Okay. I'm gonna get some water real quick. Give me 10 seconds.
All right, and that's another thing. That only happens when I'm talking about the Watts case. It's so weird. I blame it on StreamYard, but it's a thing. So, yeah, that's that. Computer cuts out. All right. So, were there any other questions here? Oh, and just the one last question I have for you.
Okay.
What do you think? Well, no, you kind of already answered that. But the one last question is, okay, across the 5 interviews in weeks surrounding this horrible tragedy, what did Nichol Kessinger say or do, or not do, that you, Omar, find the most troubling? If you can't pick one, go ahead and list a bunch.
I mean, if I'm looking at it from a human perspective, and most people know that follow my channel in a way that I do, mostly family law. So I've kind of heard it all with that regard. I've seen lots of mistresses. I've seen lots of side guys, and I've seen the drama that occurs. And so it would have been perfectly reasonable for her to come to the cops and say, hey, I didn't know this guy. It's been a couple of months. We were dating. I don't have anything to do with this family. And if he has something to do with it, then I want you to fully investigate. Here's my phone. Here's everything I know. You check all my records and all of those things. The most telling aspect of the case against her is the fact that she wanted to delete not just the evidence. It wasn't just the evidence. She wanted to delete her search history. She was not forthcoming with the simple questions that the cops were asking. And the more that she started to talk, the rambling, the filibustering that she was doing, that I would have never, if I was her defense attorney, ever let her do, is, to me, 99% of the time evidence of a guilty conscience. And I don't want to say 99% like she's guilty of something. I don't know. I just know that that's a red flag. Why is she saying so much, offering, hey, I've been in court. where I knew that I was losing the case and I had to come up with something on the fly, and the judge will say something like, "Counselor, how could you say that if X, Y, and Z?" And then I was like, "Well, Your Honor, in 1752, there was," and I'll come up with some rambling and
Right.
I got to say something. And so there was a number of times where she was caught off guard, and like when you were doing the voiceover, the filibustering was just so cringe worthy
And rampant. It was just that's all she did.
if you're, I mean, in my cross exam with Melissa, she kept on saying, "Oh, I don't know, I didn't remember. Why'd you delete the evidence?" Well, because I was going through a breakup, and at one point I told Melissa, "Nobody gives an S about your affair. You got a girl missing and her 2 children and the 15-week-old little Nico, and you're over here worried about your reputation. Get out of here with that,
Right.
Nicole."
Oh,
And,
I know, it's maddening. Poor Melissa was so nervous, wasn't she?
she was not, well, I mean, she's soft-spoken by nature.
Soft-spoken person. Okay.
Yeah, but I don't think that she understood how to answer the questions, because it's different to hear her on the video, but her sitting across from me on the couch, feeling that energy. Yeah, I think she got a little bit nervous, and she was definitely a little bit teary-eyed. So I was trying to not annihilate her on the stand.
Right.
But I've definitely had those moments in real practice where you're going in on somebody and they come in the emotions and the drama of it all. But yeah, there's not a chance that Nichol is not guilty of something, because of how easy it would have been for her. Look, the whole narrative is written in, I forgot what page it was of the discovery. It's like towards the 1600s or so. But they basically said that, yeah, she was this lady and she didn't know that he was going to do this. And she wasn't aware of X, Y, and Z. And then she's traumatized by this. We got her victim mental health support or something like that. And that was the ready-made case with the defense. But her interviews with law enforcement does not reflect that whatsoever. Right. It reflects a need to further investigate, and they shut it down. So forgive the junior detectives for having severe need to reopen and answer these questions, because it's obvious.
Yeah,
it's obvious the gaps that were in the investigation. All people want to do is fill in the gaps. That's all they need.
Yeah. No, but Rourke, leave me alone. We would love to leave you alone, Rourke. Go take a hike and let somebody else be the district attorney of Weld County, and because God knows they're going to do a better job. He just is horrendous.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Crying Pod says, we needed Omar in this community. Past tense, which means you are now officially ordained.
Am I ordained? Am I in the club now?
Oh my gosh. And I don't know, a couple of you guys had a couple other questions, but yeah, we are going on almost 2 hours here. So leave Rourke alone. No, I will never leave Rourke alone. Rourke alone. He's got to come in. Karma. Cool. All right. Well, Shan's okay. Could Shanann's family file a civil lawsuit against Nichol Kessinger if they wanted to, if they felt they had reason to, like the Simpsons of the Brown Simpson? Oh, yes, they could. Okay.
At any time.
So
there may be caveats to that. Well, actually, there isn't, because there was never a criminal case against her. So yeah, they could, whenever they want to, they could do that.
And I heard you talking yesterday in yesterday's live stream or some video I think you put out that you want to talk about the Scott Peterson case. Yes. I always want to do stuff about the Scott Peterson case, but I just don't, because something else will come along. So maybe we can talk about that. Maybe you can do some stuff and I can maybe it could complement one another.
I'm down for that.
People watching, because I have always wanted to do that. I know the ins and outs of that case too, and I think it's worth talking about. It's a compelling case. And is he getting a new trial?
That's what they're trying to do. And I don't know all the info as to what the Innocence Project is basing that off of. There was a documentary that came out like, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago. You probably know it better than I do, where they were trying to make the case. Is Scott Peterson really guilty? And so now the Innocence Project is getting involved. And I know it's making a lot of people really angry. I don't know what their angle is, but I have some ideas. I've been teasing that episode for a couple of weeks now, and I think my audience is getting angry with me because I keep doing other stuff. I had to I recorded the Madeline Soto deep dive this morning, because that's what 80% of my followers wanted to do. But then some of them are like, could we eventually do the Peterson case? Yes, eventually we're definitely going to. Just not today. Maybe next week.
That's good. That's I think it's definitely one worth exploring. I have some ideas of kind of angles I want to take of covering it from a different place and from an attorney. So yeah, sometimes if y'all, do you guys want? Did you do like a community survey? People were interested in that one.
Did I?
Yeah.
Well, when I did it, Watts was involved, and like 80% of people wanted Watts, or 73%, but second place was Peterson.
Yeah.
And then so this week I was gonna do Peterson, but then people wanted Soto, and so I ended up doing that. But yeah, I'm definitely it's in the pike.
Okay.
Maybe release next week, but
I'm going to start my Peterson material then because it will complement each other. It'll just bring more people to watch you. That's how it works.
Perfect.
Right? So yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you and meeting you, and I so much appreciate all of your insight on this.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Kelly. Whenever you want to do it, I am down to do it as always.
Awesome. I will be contacting you soon, or
Yes, ma'am.
if you, absolutely. Everyone loves you. So yeah,
I love
big
all of you.
snaps for Omar, the Tilted Lawyer. Oh, the other question someone asked was, what does your channel name mean? Where does it come from? Tell us about it.
Well, the act of being tilted is like, it's almost, well, it's a chess term. So I'm a chess player.
I thought
And
that's what I am too.
Really?
Yes.
So it's like when you're playing chess and like you're just so frazzled, you can't think, and you're just making random moves, and you're just like all over the place. And,
that's so funny. That's what I thought, but I was like, no way, that's crazy. Hold on, I just have to show you something super quick. Where'd it go? Just the other day, whoops, my son plays chess too.
Really?
And and he's almost, and I'm a good chess player. I will admit it. I am. I'm not trying to be, but what he actually beats me like legitimately sometimes, which like never I kind of can't believe it.
I don't want to ask what your rating is because that's a very deeply personal.
No, I'm sure he's. So my mom's husband, so like my stepdad, but it's by my son's grave. They've been married for 25 years. Gave him this really beautiful chess set.
Oh, one of those
like gorgeous pieces, and so we're actually going to play. This is for this weekend. It's our little thing to play with this new beautiful chess set.
Oh, you play with those pieces. That's interesting.
So awesome. That's cool.
Yeah.
Does anyone else play chess? It's awesome. All right, I'm going to let you go. You probably have a family to go see, and tell them thank you for letting you give us your time.
I will let them know for sure. And we are definitely going to be in touch.
Thank you so much, Omar. Have a good night.
All right, Kelly. You too. Have a good weekend.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so yeah, that was awesome. He was great. So great to get that perspective, right? I mean, and it is, like, as I said to him, and some of you guys were saying in chat, it's exactly what we've really needed. I don't know how many times we've done live streams, and I would talk to my dad or talk to Alex, the What's the Obsession legal consultants, who both are not available to us now for different reasons. But they both would never come on. My dad, who was 74 when he passed away, was just very old school in every way, and he was like, lawyers don't go on YouTube. Just like a few years back when I was like, Dad, why don't you get into like Google ads or something for your law, for this aspect of your law practice that isn't as busy as the rest of it, but it was still busy. Probably didn't even need that. You'd be like, it's unethical for lawyers to advertise. I'm like, Dad, no, it's not. It's not what you think it is. It's just like getting yourself in Google's, as a result in Google searches and whatever. But, that was his thinking. And then Alex wouldn't come on because of one of our favorite creators out there who is, if you know, you know, if you don't, you don't. But, yeah. So anyway, guys, don't embarrass Omar. I forgot to tell. I meant to tell Omar that if you're listening, Omar, you have a lot of lady fans. Jeez, oh my gosh, all these comments. Let's see. Oh yes, please do hit the thumbs up, give us a like, subscribe if you haven't. We would love to see you back, and I'm sure you'd love to come back when we have the Tilted Lawyer back. And I can't believe that's where the name came from. I knew it. Today it's not a bunny, it's a isn't that cool? Isn't that beautiful? You can't tell how like awesome these are, probably but it's like a really gorgeous chess set. I couldn't believe he gave it to my son. I know that my stepdad loves it. Yeah. Let's see, Miss. Oops. I keep clicking. Oh, there's the chess. They're coming through fast for me right now. Oh, and hey, by the way, thank you so much, Sarcasm for Fun, for gifting 20 memberships and then another 20 memberships. And Jesse X's Essex for gifting 5 memberships. Thank you guys so much. That was really very awesome and generous of you. And also thank you, McJ, for becoming a member today. There goes my freaking computer again. All right, you know how it goes. All righty. Oh my gosh. Thank you guys so much for being here. Subscribers, members, thank you for being a member. 45 new members now. Moderators, I love you guys to death. Oh, and members, since there's so many of you now because we have these generous people gifting these memberships, guys, I am on a roll for the last 2 weeks. 2 weeks. I did a members only live stream on Thursday nights. That's when I'm trying to do them. I don't want to promise it's always going to be on Thursday night because I want to do them at least once a week. But with the way my schedule is and, my career life and my students and my only single momedness and my gigantic housedness and my 28 bunniedness stuff, sometimes I can't promise it's going to be Thursday every week. But I'm going to try for Wednesday or Thursday. So that's cool. I'm trying to give you guys more members benefits. Crime Pod says, Kelly, this was a brilliant collab. Awesome. Thank you. I'm so glad you guys feel that way. And Marina says, Kelly, I love that. I have an old chess set from the 70s. Love the chessboard. Yeah. Good stuff. Oh, gosh. Do you play chess? Yeah. Yes, let's not act like a homeworker like Nicole. Skanky and Pinata. Hey, how are you doing? Nice to see ya. I think I mentioned one of your lives a while ago. I had doubts about it. Who's live? Is someone here a creator I don't know about? And I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude in saying that, but I just like to promote other creators because, we should all help each other. Life is hard. We should help each other. More of this sort of content, please, the Maximus Prime. I would love to do more of this sort of content. Thank you for being here and for your feedback. Desired, it's so wonderful. Every time you're here, Desired and I go way back. There we go. Let's see. What is it? How do I can't read this. Oh my gosh. Faceted. Oh, cool. Faceted Dreamer says, Omar is gorgeous, but I like his braids. There you go. Great comment. Oh boy. Skanky and Pinata. That's right. Hi, Midge. How are you? It's great to see you, Midge. I feel like I always kind of miss you, but I just adore you, Midge, and I'm so grateful for you. Oh, thank you. Kelly, you're such a good friend. Thank you so much. I love how open you are. Stuck to you now. Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You guys are just so kind. Thank you. Thank you. Oh my God, I missed the live. What was the best part? Oh, girl, it was all good. You're just gonna have to rewatch this one. I promise you, the whole thing was good. I believe he put her in the flatbed. Possible. That is possible. There was a lot of stuff back there. I mean, I've thought about that. There was a lot, but it is possible. Yeah. Good night. Good night. Good night to all you were leaving. Jody is cool. Thank you for everything you do and have been doing. Midge, best life for sure. Awesome. I'm so glad you guys think so. Taquito empanada. Yeah, sometimes I'll call her some other something taquito, but it just kind of has to come to me from inspiration of my disgust for her. Loved how Kelly did the dig for sure you have a family to go to, but he did not say wife, Kelly. What? Oh no, he has a wife. He's married. I've heard him talk about it before on her his podcast. No, I was saying that sincerely. I felt like he gave us 2 hours. That's super generous, and I know he was on Zawoki's earlier too. So, it's Friday night. I think he has. I just know this because I remember the first of his of his things that I watched was when his mom was on, and I just remember her saying like he's a girl dad or something. It was cute. His mom was really cute. I liked his mom, so yeah. Dang it all, great, Kelly. Keep going. Absolutely. Aw. You play chess as kids. I love chess. Good for your brain. Oh, so are you guys interested in Scott Peterson, the Scott Peterson case? Because I've been wanting to, oh my God, I have a few different ideas. I actually had started, putting together my content file to do videos on Scott Peterson a while ago. I still have it. Because guys, oh my God, being like a true crime creator, I know I don't cover a lot of cases. Like some people cover like every case that comes up, and I really admire them for doing that because listen, every time you take on a new case to cover, you have to get all the video footage, all the images, all of the information, all of the audio, all of the story. You got to straighten out your facts. You've got to eliminate the BS. You've got to organize it. It's really hard work. So, but I do have a Peterson file already started. So, are you guys interested in Scott Peterson? Yes. Yes. Cool. Yes. I'm interested in, I usually, and I meant to ask Omar this before, but I had so many questions, but he had just brought up the Scott Peterson, the Innocence Project, in relation to Scott Peterson case. And I usually stand by the Innocence Project. So, there's a couple of times where they got involved where I kind of was like, oh, guys, seriously, can't you put your energy somewhere better? I can't even think of any examples now, but I do know that has happened. I'm tired, or I think I'd be able to certainly think of examples. But I feel like if the Innocence Project is behind it, there's got to be something there. But maybe I don't know. I need to learn more about that. See, Scott got death penalty and was afforded appeals. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Yep. Always with death penalty, right? But that doesn't mean the Innocence Project would be involved, right? So it seems there's something else. Do you think? Something about his mom should do something commercial. His mom is sweet. Yes, cover pot. Scott Peterson. He was the first Chris Watts. Yeah, in a way, he certainly was. Yeah. Except he had a girlfriend who. Oh, wait, hold it. My bunny is chewing like on the. Yay! Don't do that. It's our special chest stop. No, stinker. No. No, bunny. No. Just 1 second. Lily, what are you doing, little Lily girl? Come here, little Lily girl. Come here. Say hi to everybody. Come here, say hi to everybody, little Willie. Oh, whoops. It's time for a bunny break. Oh, she says, Widow Willie. Oh, you can't see how pretty her eyes look red, but they're blue. Oh, little Widow Willie. Little Lily. I love her. She's so special. She just runs around the house like a dog or a cat. And Skylar does too, the white bunny that I picked up recently. Oh, it was in the Corey Richards live stream. Widow Willie. And look it. Let me see your paws, Willie. No, you don't want to show me your paws. Look, she's got all of her sockies on. Whoopsie. I don't want to hurt you. She's got all of her sockies on. See? That's why we got her. Because she was special. She has all her socks on. Okay. I'll put you back down, okay, sweetie? Don't chew stuff. Okay. All right. That was Lily. Widow Willie. I didn't know that. See, you guys are telling me something I didn't know. I've been wrong before, I'll be wrong again, and I just was wrong just now. So you guys are telling me, no, it is the Wrong Innocence Project I'm talking about. It's not the New York one. Where I am located is the LA one in California, where Scott Peterson and Omar, the Tilted Lawyer, are located. I have to turn this off. I don't want my I want things closed down again. Did you get a chance to check the email that I sent you? No, but I can check it now. What? It's a picture of that guru guy. I'll grab it now. Some people recently have said they sent me emails that I did not get. I have a lot of emails, but I know I've seen a few people here. Please just note that my email is wattsobsession@gmail.com. Why? I guess I eliminated the to make it shorter, which is stupid, kind of, maybe, because a lot of people, I think, they tell me that they type Watts the Obsession, which makes perfect sense. But my email is just spelled all how it should be spelled, wattsobsession@gmail.com. So if you do need to get an email to me, please just know that. So I don't want to miss what you are trying to communicate. Oh, there it is. Okay, cool. Ding, 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 ding. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, AD. That's right. Oh, I miss Alan. ED. Kezchik, if you're still here, I meant to ask you this the other day, or Anaphylaxis. I don't know if you're still with AD. I just wanted to if you could provide me either now or some other time, I'd like to do a community post. The link or however it is that people find AD, because I think people would like to find him. So I just want to make that information available to people if they do want to find him. I think Alan is a good person. I just like Alan. I know people have, I just like him. He's always really good to me. Been meaning to send, went through. AD found this before this guy removed it. I knew his last name at one point. AD had blanked it, and it was the only time I ever saw it. His name is Robert, and at one time he was head of the occult religion. I'll show you guys the picture in a minute. And this person has to look it up. Oh, yes, thank you, though, for giving me this information. I really appreciate it. It's the modern version of, I don't even know how to say that. Thelma Alistair, is that right? Crowley's, oh, I got it. Cult that started back in the early 1900s. Last name is something. Does anyone know? Oh, well, thank you. I'm sorry I didn't get it earlier. But do you guys want to see this picture? So I think, let me make sure this is what you're saying. I'm not sure if I'm got this all right. This is the spiritual advisor that Nichol Kessinger contacted on that Monday of the murders. Is that correct? Oh, what am I doing? Okay. I am tired, I guess. Doing really silly stuff. All right. Here he is in all his glory. I can't make it bigger. Oh, no, I can. That is one sexy empanada. Wow. You guys agree? Spring Easter Jesus bunnies is also beautiful. Yes, indeed. So Anaphylaxis says that AD is on Rumble, guys. Okay, so you go to Rumble, and is Rumble a website or an app, or I don't even know what it is, Anna. Oh my gosh. There's so much I don't know about. But that's great. Thank you so much. AD is on Rumble. Search AD Armchair Detective on Rumble, guys, if you want to find AD. AD, who was on YouTube, of course, and things happened. Yeah, He's a good person. He is. Yeah, and I'm gonna go check him out. And Desiree says, I saw that Alan has a new Facebook account. Very good. Yes, please do hit the like button while I'm reading through these comments, trying to see what you guys are saying. Thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate all of you guys. Let's see, it's 11:40 right now in New York. So you're saying that the Innocence Project in LA is different than the one in New York? I'm gonna have to look into that. So is the one in LA like bad, corrupt, like bogus? Like, well, I'll look it up. I'll find out. Innocence. See, Kelly, have you seen the Soto case? I have. I have been following it. I haven't done any content on it though. Do you guys want content on the Soto case? Please put one in the chat if you would like content on the Soto case. And if you don't know what I'm talking about or you don't care to see anything about the Soto case, go ahead and put it too. And if you're just like me, whatever, shrugging my shoulders, you don't have to put anything, of course. But if you do want some Soto content, please let me know because I could definitely do that. I think I'm in the know about it. I just haven't done any content. Jay says, Watts, do you think you do a live or video on the whole Nick scandal? Have you been following it? No. What is that? The Nick scandal? Tell me more. Survey 3, yes, it was shut down and it's also been raised. It's gone completely. Like 1122 King Road. Can you believe Omar didn't know about frozen shock fees, guys? I mean, he's great, but ooh, I'm just kidding. I know most people in here know all about what that means. Game Postal says, I think Anadarko gave out millions to shut it down, to Survey 319. Well, that has been said, but here's the truth of it. And this I have well researched, and a lot of other people have as well. I'm certainly not the only one that got the correct info on this. Survey 319 was very old. There were several old sites that were going to be closed down anyway because they just weren't producing oil at nearly like the rate or the efficiency of other oil sites. Because think it's like sitting on that ground there. It's using certain natural resources. That are not indefinitely renewable, certainly. So, yeah, it was going to be shut down anyway. And I think, and it was scheduled actually to be shut down prior to this tragedy happening. I don't know if there was like an actual date, but it was on the list of candidates of sites that were going to go bye-bye. So that was already happening. How come the FBI helped her? We don't know. We don't know. Good question. Justice A through Z also likes Armchair Detective. Oh gosh, this is a big question, honey, I think. Melanie says, what's the story with AD? I found that Shanann's brother, Frankie, made a very angry post about him and his content. That happened before I learned about the case. Yes, that's this conflict right here that you mentioned is the reason that he's not on YouTube anymore. And this conflict has been ongoing forever, it seems. And he actually used to be close with, good with the family. I don't know if close is the right word or not, but maybe it is. I'm not sure. And it's an extremely complicated situation. So unfortunately, I can't summarize it for you, but I just wanted to acknowledge. I've always been a supporter of AD, and I will continue to support him. I also am a supporter of the Ruchek family in a number of different ways. I've got their backs. We have donated to their causes. We do not speak poorly of them. So, I don't have any, it's not one side or another. I just support all of those people, AD and that family. But obviously they have, something between them that's pretty substantial. Oh, so Jay says, basically, a bunch of Nickelodeon's producers, dialogue coaches, and actors have been accused of abusing children actors, and Nick covered it up. Yeah, you know what? I did hear about that. Oh, gosh. Is that something you guys want to hear about? That sounds hard to, I mean, if you guys want to know, if you guys are like really wanting to look into this, I will do whatever you guys want. It's your channel. I just am here. That looks like that's hard. That's going to be a hard one to look into, like as far as just breaking your heart. Oh, you weren't talking about 319. Okay, sorry about that. Okay. Yeah, you know who gained postal. Keyboard warriors and armchair detectives are my people. Yes, as long as they're not the ones who are truly cowards and only get brave and strong and bully-like when they're behind the keyboard. All right, it's just how it goes. Everyone, please be kind to one another in chat. Life is hard. Please be nice to one another. I don't even know what's going on. I just saw moderators commenting, and I always stand behind my moderators. I know everyone has good intentions. It's all good. Everyone's doing their best. Just be nice to each other. Thank you, Kez. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. It does help so much, and we definitely want you to come back. Oh, you know what? My analytics are telling me that so many of you are not subscribed. What's up with that? Come on, subscribe. It's not going to hurt anyone. But you know what? I do the same thing, though. There's channels I watch all the time, and I'm not subscribed to. When I saw that in my analytics recently, the report it is Google, YouTube, same thing, puts out about like how your channel's doing, what the numbers look like, and all that. I never really paid too much attention, honestly, to percent of subscribers compared to viewers. I don't know why. Oh my God, the information they give you guys is like, I mean, if you really worked with the information and figured it out and, learned how to, improve your content or what you're doing based on those analytics, it could be like the key to like super success on YouTube. But I mean, who has time I just don't understand all of it, honestly. And let's see who's this here. And Martha Mitchell, thank you so much for becoming a member. Welcome. Yeah, Rumble what is Rumble? I don't know. I didn't see. I asked Anna the question, but then I didn't see. Let me look it up. Rumble is what? What's Rumble? What's Rumble? Tell me about Rumble, Google. But they probably won't if it's not a Google thing. Oh my my God, there's a local sports team that has that. Okay, I'm not gonna be able to find it that easily. Rumble, is it a streaming service? Is that what it is? Or I don't know. Or is it, I don't know. Platform, is that the word? Okay, it's an app. All right, Rumble is, okay. Okay, this is what Wikipedia says because I'm having a hard time figuring this out. Rumble is an online video platform, web hosting, and cloud service business headquartered in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Toronto's a great city. Been there a few times. And with its U.S. headquarters in Longboat Key, Florida. It was founded in 2013 by Chris Pavlovsky, a Canadian technology entrepreneur. But really, what else do we want to know? Rumble's cloud service business hosts Truth Social, and the platform is popular among American right and fair right users. Wow, this is actually really interesting history on it, but okay. So that's what it is. I don't know. It's a platform, it's an app, and okay, that's all I'm gonna give you about that right now. Thank you so much, Marina. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here, for being a member. Oh, wait. It was Martha that just became a member. I love you all the same. Martha, Mitchell, Marina, lots of M's. Aw, thank you so much. Love your channel, Miss Kelly, and your cute little bunny Lily baby. Thank you. She's wonderful. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. Oh, good. Jay says, I'm looking forward to covering the Peterson case. Oh, I missed where I asked you guys to. Oh, no. That was for the Madeline Soto case. All right, I'm just going to finish up reading through the comments here, and then I'm going to call it an evening. So many cases I can think of that I'd love you to cover, Kelly. Oh, let's name a few, because I'll put a survey out and see what it is you guys want, because, I do obviously a ton of Watts, Idaho. Recently, Corey Richins. Those are kind of the three that I've been covering recently, like whatsoever. I've done Delphi, Murdoch to like nauseum. In fact, the Murdoch videos across my whole channel, the Murdoch series of videos I did, they were just like on fire. They were like the most successful, so to speak. Kylie Rodney, Delphi, which I will get back to. The trial's upcoming. Yeah, I'm gonna do it, McJay, I promise. I've done a couple other cases that just interested in me, like a video here and there, Sherry Papini. I don't know, but yeah, I need more cases that I can do deep dives into. I only have 4 subscribers and 4. Aw. Yeah. Have you been doing, I have a Crime Pod. I don't know. Crime Pod has a channel. Yes. And I don't know. So we like email sometimes and stuff. So if you want to get your channel growing, Crime Pod, let's talk about it. And I can maybe help support you doing that. I don't want to say help you, you know what I mean? Not in a bad way. But if that's what you want to do, I would like to support you. That's what I'm saying, Crime Pod. I like supporting other channels, especially, yeah. Delphi, okay. Scott Peterson, yes. Sub Rosa says I subscribe Crime Pod. Everybody go subscribe to Crime Pod. Give her some love. She's great. What's your favorite quote of Empanada Lady? Leave Jim alone or another one? Oh gosh. I like Leave Jim Alone, but there are some other things that she has said that are not so, repeated. But that's an awesome one that Gosh, I'd really have to think about that. Huh. I do like in the last interview when she's talking about, and towards the very end, she's talking to Kevin Kovac about the, she gets her phone back, and all of a sudden, magically, some of the texts from Chris appeared on the phone that had been gone. And one of them is him saying, "Oh my gosh, that would be absolutely ridiculous. They would freak out," or something. Yeah. And then she's telling Kevin Kovac like what this text is all about, which I think is BS. And she's like, I always wanted to support the girls, and I found this box of Lucky Charms. And she does this like weird, I don't know. Every time I see that, I just think it reminds me of what a ridiculous human being she is. It's kind of an obscure one, but. Let's see, the Scott Peterson, yes. Yeah, so Rumble's kind of just like YouTube was at the beginning. Yeah, to some degree. Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, perhaps YouTube had some special sauce along on the side because, there had to be something about it that made it become the freaking what it is now. But yeah, kind of like that. Some of the free speech is worth exactly what you pay for it. Nothing. Huh. Not sure what that means, but I think it's a profound quote. Okay, yeah. Okay, here, I'm gonna look at it really quick. I remember that coming across. And guys, please forgive me if and if you do send me an email that you really want me to look at, please don't hesitate to resend it, or if you catch me in chat, or I do read all the comments. I mean, I can't say I read every single one, but I read almost every single comment still. I used to comment on all the comments on the channel, but I can no longer do that. But because it truly is important to me what you guys think. But if I don't get back to you on email and you really want to get me information, or you really need to know something or whatever, you might have to nudge me a few times. And I'm sorry, please don't ever take it personal. I get a lot of email through this channel, and I can't keep up with it, honestly. I just can't keep up with it, but I try. I just saw the one about Miss Mensa that you sent somebody else. Let's see. If you huh. Interesting. I'm going to have to read that more thoroughly later. That's interesting about the Miss Mensa one. Okay, I'm going to find your email. Oh my God, so many emails. This is making me anxious. Oh, these unread emails. Wait, let me just make sure I'm not. Okay, cool. I just want to make sure you guys couldn't see that in the stream because it just wouldn't have been appropriate for you to see all these emails. Okay. Sorry, I'm still looking. I must have skipped over a page here. obviously we're dying down here. If people are leaving and going good nighty night or happy day or whatever it is, thank you so much for being here. And I hope you come back soon. I appreciate all of you guys. And I'm just so happy you're here tonight. Oh, no, that's not it. Where can I find this? There it is. Okay, yep. Yeah, so I opened 2 of them. Okay, gotcha. Oh, I can't open. You sent me a link. I can't open it because my computer is telling me that it's like I have a lot of security on this computer because of that time I had a catastrophic hack during the Kylie Rodney case related to YouTube and covering true crime. So, I'm not saying that I think you sent me something bad on purpose. It's like going to affect my computer, but I just have like my security settings are pretty high right now. But here I will take a look at it. I promise I will email you back. I think I looked at one of the pages, like the Sophie Miller one. I'll just be honest. I don't think I think that stuff might be like a farce. I'm not sure, but let me look at it more carefully and I'll get back to you about it. Good night, everybody who's saying good night. I know her voice is like nails on a chalkboard. I think it just is. It's like, it's so rare that so many people, almost like all people who are exposed to her voice, have an adverse reaction to it. A lot of times people are like split about how they feel about, but yeah. How big was my rabbit? Little Lily is probably, I don't know, she's a hound lop. She's probably about 4 pounds. Yeah. Yeah. When she said, you can only check the messages and phone calls, everything is in there. Right. His macros were pretty dialed in. He was eating a decent amount of food. Oh my God. I know. These are just great ones. Oh, hi, Allison Ryan. Oh, it was a great one. Please watch the replay. You're going to love it because of the guest. Aw, Maximus Prime says, I want to start my own talks like this, and you guys are so inspiring. It's crazy cray. That's good. It's good to be inspired. Keep inspiring the Maximus Prime, everybody. And good night, good night, good night. Faceted Dreamer, great having you here. I didn't know. I hate it when she talks about the messages. I know. And wait. And I removed it. I can't even do it. I'm gonna have to work on that one. Pawn it, dude. Pawn it. Or man, or whatever it was she said. Pawn it, man. Yeah, I said dude earlier, but I think it's man. You're right. Oh, another red herring distraction from the interview. So many. Yeah, this is often said. We can talk about this sometime. I don't have the energy at the moment, but yeah. Her creepy laugh will be embedded in my brain forever. I miss your face. Oh, Tasha. Oh, definitely watch the replay. The Tilted Lawyer was awesome. NK has no alibi except for leave Jim alone. Leave Jim alone. Jim doesn't know anything. Leave Jim alone. Or Jim doesn't need to get into that, whatever it is she says there. I can't believe I can't remember off the top of my head. Leave him alone. Yeah, she's terrible. The way she said Shanann was horrible. Yeah, I know. Shanann. Macros and tacos. Oh. I still can't remember what we talked about. It was only 111 minutes the night before the murder, his entire family, but she can't remember what she talked about. BS. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, hacking is horrible. Yes, it is. Oh my God, that was so bad when that happened. I lost a lot. Caused a lot of problems. They were so little. Yeah. Her voice has an amazing range. Oh, hey, you're welcome. You have our support, my friend. Oh, okay, Karen G. Thanks for helping me out here. Let me try this now. Karen, okay. And I removed it. And I'm going to have to work on that one. Wait, I have the sound clip of it. All right, I'm going to play my short little 3-minute video of some of our favorite Nichol Kessinger sound clips, and then I'm seriously going to peace out because I got to go bed. I had a busy day. We had a lockdown today in where I work, and it was a real lockdown. I actually can't really talk about, but it was pretty stressful. It was real. Real things happened. I can't believe I'm still up. It was scary. Here we go. Let me just bring it into the stream quick. Okay. Honey. How are you? Oops.
I guess it's calling you back to have a deal. Hi. Hi. It's me. I miss your face. I was just calling to say hi. Call me back.
Thank you so much for coming out here with me, Christopher. I'm having a wonderful time. You mean a lot to me.
Oh, that's a good one, Alexis. And she was pregnant. Oh, I have to work on that one too. I've never tried to say it out loud. Pregnant. Oh my God, there's so many good ones. She's so bizarre. She's such a weird. I won't say she's such a weirdo. Like that's a terrible thing. Weird people aren't necessarily bad, but she's just so. Ugh.
You're having a blast. I am so out of breath.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm really trying to help you guys. I need you guys to help me too. Like,
yes,
we'll
ma'am.
do this as a team, but just don't.
So the reason why we can't, like, I think I did think about this yesterday that I would like to sit down with you once we have your text messages and the phone calls, and we can put them in a some type of easily looking that we can sit down and look at them and compare them, and we can kind of get the context of how everything was going that night. I would like to do that with you. Unfortunately, so the download that we got yesterday is going to take multiple days to be analyzed. I probably won't have it back till next week.
Leave Jim alone. Leave Jim alone. Jim doesn't need to be wrapped up in this. Leave Jim alone. Okay, good. Thank you. Now we got it. Yeah. Thank you.
And then because you guys,
oh wait, hold it. Is this? Oh no.
You guys did have so many text messages. One of my analysts is working on getting those in order, so we can put something together where we can actually sit down and discuss it. But I do think that's something.
Oh, it's so tiring when that happens. I'm sorry. All right, here we go. Play it straight through. Or the rest of it.
I want to do in the near future, sometime probably next week.
I mean, I can do that. I don't mind giving you guys my time. I just need you guys to like help me with my employer and try to just help me brace for this immediate thing.
I'm with you. We definitely need to accelerate the case because the more it takes, the less sure that they are of
Maybe
situation.
He murdered her. She's out of the picture. You're never going to know if she was pregnant. If he can get away with murder, you're not going to. I got divorced from my wife. You say, do you understand what I'm saying here? If she's gone,
But this,
Don't lead,
hypothetically,
please.
Yeah.
Don't lead on.
hypothetically, if she,
Okay.
you understand where I'm going. If
Right,
you
but
didn't know,
You're leading into
Right.
questions that are nothing with your,
if you didn't know though
wait, Nick,
that she was there,
did you hear what I said?
I'm following you.
Stop asking about it. She didn't have anything to do with it. She wasn't there that morning. She voluntarily cooperated with law enforcement. She provided us all the information. I'm not going to tell you where she's at. Stop. Leave me alone.
Huh. Yeah, so yep, stop. Leave me alone. I just had to put that work in there at the end. Just Larry, I love you, my friend. So great to see you. We're closing up here, but this was an amazing live stream. Great, awesome guest, tons of insight. Definitely rewatch it. And just Larry, I want you to come on panel sometime soon, please. Would you email me? Watts, obsession, there's a couple specific things too I've been thinking for a while I wanted to talk to you about. Yeah, great to see you, Just Larry. Just Larry, always our friend, always my friend, always friend of the channel, and true crime, and justice. Just Larry, friend to justice. Ah, there we go. I worked that out. I hope you're having a blast. Yeah, I know. Weird, right? Inquiring minds want to know, including Keschek. Just Larry, are you coming back on YouTube? That'd be great. It was the hurt that made me delete it, and it was the lies that made me question everything else. Don't forget chest thrusting. I love it. Oh boy. Oh my God, Sandy Kennedy. I have thought about this like a lot. I think this would be hilarious. I've like done whole scenes I have whole scenes like I think like choreographed in my mind. Then some people get really twisted about that. They're like, this is such a horrible tragedy, and my God, it is. It's like, as though like I'm making fun of it. And this is what I said to somebody in the comment section the other day when we were talking about merch, and they were really like put off by that. Of course, I don't take the crime itself or what happened to these human beings lightly. I mean, I think anybody that watches my channel for more than a few minutes, I think, unless they're really just the not right few minutes, knows that. But this case is so heavy. It causes people to be depressed. It causes people to it brings up a lot of difficult, hard, ugly stuff in people, whether they know it or not. That if you're going to be talking about this case and this deep into it, you have to bring some levity to the environment, to the atmosphere, and to the people around you sometimes. So the fact that I'm not always brooding and crying over what happened, it's horrible. That will never, ever, 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 ever change. And my God, people, like, that's a given, right? We don't need to question that. But that doesn't mean that there's not going to still be laughter, right? So you too, my dear friend and neighbor. Just Larry and I are neighbors almost. Hi, Angie Erickson. How are you doing? Yeah, I know. She did like the strangulation hands. I know. Good night, guys. Good night. Oh, and I am at the end of chat. Okay, so that means I'm going to peace out too. That video just burns my biscuits, she says. Kids are funny. Monica Myers, that video just burns my biscuits. That woman moved on and changed her face and name. I'm sure of that. Oh. Wait, I'm not sure. Imagine telling people who ask frequently for helps or tips to stop. Major red flag. I'm not sure what that's in regards to. I might just be tired. Well, Jim's phone should have been seized. Well, they'd have to have probable cause to take his phone, or I mean, they'd have to have reason for a search warrant for his phone. I from what we know, we're kind of a long way from that, it seems, but maybe not. But he certainly should have been contacted at the very least, and interviewed for sure. I mean, just based on her Leave Jim Alone episode. Good night, Allison. I hope you enjoy. Leave a comment for us, and there's always next time for lives. Let's see, is Allison a member? I can't remember. Yeah, Allison, you're a member. So there's going to be a members live stream on either Wednesday or Thursday night. And there might be another, I don't know, I really want to do another open one. Maybe on Sunday. I'm not sure. I'm be on the lookout for it, please. I haven't decided, but I'd really like to do another live stream for everybody, either like Sunday or Monday night, maybe Tuesday, probably Sunday or Monday, and then members on Wednesday or Thursday. So be on the lookout for that. Nikki, if you're watching, speak up. Otherwise, this will never end. Never. It was your lies that made me do it. And it was Nichol Kessinger. Shannon, lean on me video. Blast. Come on. Whoops. I don't know if there's a link or not. Okay. Anyway. So, all right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Loopy Housewife says, Frankie Jr., please ask for the case to be reopened on NK. Do it for Shanann and your nieces and nephews. I stand by this plea. I think that they should. I wish that they would, but you know, I'm never going to speak or feel or allow nasty things towards the victims' families, either of them, but I wish that they would. I'm not saying you're being nasty, by the way, by any means. Okay. Good night, and yeah, good night, Allison. Good night. Oh, who else said good night? I don't know. I was just skipping around. Okay, I gotta end it up here because I'm really tired. So again, thank you guys so much for being here. Please remember to lock your windows and lock your doors because I want you to be safe. And remember also that life is hard, but I mean, I want you to remember that, but think about that. So please be nice to everyone. And most of all, be nice to yourself because I know you deserve it. So I hope everyone has a super night, and I will see you very soon. Old, not good. Oh, I don't have any on here that aren't going to get music content claims. So no outro, just I love you guys and appreciate you, and I'll see you very soon.